and check out the YouTube live as well. I don't know if you have like the extra space or the extra bandwidth to check out our channel. But yeah, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for all of your submissions, by the way. It was so awesome going through all of your submissions. We received a lot of submissions. It took a while for us to like go through all of them, right? And yeah, we all had a great time reading through them. So thank you so much for submitting in the first place. It's really appreciated, you guys. Hello, 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 you guys. And I'm gonna say hi to our YouTube chat real quick. Hi, pals. Hi, Herbanks. Hi, Luziel. I hope I'm saying that right. Hi, Ian, and hi, Fox. Thank you so much for joining us on YouTube today. Now, if you guys are new here, if you guys are new to learn to draw manga, welcome. So thrilled to have you joining us today. And if you're a subscriber or if you've been watching our videos on our YouTube channel, then thank you so much. Thank you so much for loving our content and just like checking out our content, right? Seriously appreciate your support, you guys, and also seriously appreciate your support for this challenge, right? I imagine creating a 4-page manga is a new thing for some of you guys. And yeah, just want to let you guys know, congratulations for even achieving making a 4-page one shot. You know, not a lot of people can say that. Not a lot of beginner manga artists can say that. So just want to give you guys a round of applause and a pat on the back for submitting your 4-page one-shots last month, right? You guys delivered. Again, we received a ton of submissions and it was so much fun going through them. And today, ArtCrumbs is going to be giving feedback to 4 randomly chosen submissions, right? So I hope you're just as pumped as I am. If you're excited, please let me know in the chat, maybe dropped and I'm excited in the chat, or maybe drop like clapping emoji in the chat if you're excited to listen to ArtCrumbs today, drop some knowledge. All right. All right, Frank is excited, Jim is excited, Lily is excited, Mohammed's excited. Thank you so much, you guys. The YouTube chat is also pretty excited. All right. So again, congratulations to everyone who submitted and thank you for submitting your submissions. And I hope you guys are proud with your submissions, as you should be, right? Again, making a 4-page one shot is already a big achievement in and of itself. So I hope you're proud. And just a reminder, you guys, regardless of whether or not your one shot was chosen to be reviewed today, I hope you remember that this session is still like a great opportunity for you to learn directly from a published artist like ArtCrumbs. All right. So if you guys didn't know, ArtCrumbs is actually a VIZ Originals one-shot creator, all right, and manga artist. They worked with VIZ Media and former Weekly Shonen Jump editor Hisashi Sasaki to publish their VIZ Originals one-shot manga, Onami. So ArtCrumbs, also known as Jackson, is an American manga artist based in Tennessee, and they've been a panelist and resident artist for companies like Ego Manga, Wacom, Clip Studio, and they've also spoken at conventions like San Diego Comic-Con, Anime Expo, and New York Comic-Con, to name a few. So yeah, aside from their published one-shot, ArtCrumbs also has an ongoing manga series, Godsbane, being released on Global Comics. All right. We have a great guest. We have a great guest. I'm reviewing your submissions today. So I hope you guys are buckled in and ready to go through all these submissions with us. All right. So before we get into it and before I bring Jackson in, though, maybe drop a message in the chat. Tell me, where are you guys from? Like, where are you tuning in from? What time is it there? Is it morning? Is it noon? Is it night? It's early in the morning here on my end, and it's 7 p.m. at night for Jackson. So where are you guys from? Who Isaac's from North Carolina. Hi, Isaac. Andrea's from Venezuela. It's 8 p.m. Good evening, Andrea. All right, 8 a.m. in Singapore. Good morning, Shahiran. Bulgaria, it's 3 a.m. Mason, Georgia, East Coast of the US. All right, cool, cool. Who else? I'm gonna go through our YouTube chat real quick. Who else is from where? All right, it's morning for a lot of the people. It's like early morning for a lot of people, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in, even if it's so late. Um, but yeah, really appreciate the support. All right. A question from Moya. Will you be doing manga reviews in June? I plan to release the first chapter in June. Yes, we will have more upcoming sessions like this with different mentors in our program. So watch out for that. We're definitely planning something for June as well. Just make sure to subscribe to our channel and click on notifications so you get notified as soon as we announced our June events, right? So yeah, thank you guys so much. It's really nice knowing where everyone's from. Now, without further ado, um, before I bring in ArtCrumbs, please make sure to stay until the end for the Q&A, you guys, to find out how you can work with pro Japanese manga artists. And yeah, if you have any questions for ArtCrumbs about their manga making process or any tips in general you'd like to ask of them, make sure to keep it for the Q&A. All right. Now, without further ado, hello, ArtCrumbs. Thank you so much for joining us today. Could you maybe say hi to our audience and to our viewers for a second?
I mean, I don't know why they're here. I mean, who are these people? Why are you in my house? Hi guys, what's up? How's everybody? Thanks for tuning in. I didn't realize there are people here from like all over the place.
Yeah,
So
yeah. A lot of people are really
awesome.
excited to
Mhm.
learn from you, our crumbs. All right. So do you want to get into the review then?
Yeah.
Let's start going through these mangas. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. There were like a lot of really good, there were a lot of really good submissions. And just like, but like really quick, like while I'm working on getting my screen share up here. One of the big things that that I noticed is there were a lot of common weaknesses between all of the entries that I looked at. And so at the end, when I'm done, I'm gonna cover like what I thought everyone did really well, like what were some universal strengths, what were some universal weaknesses, and then like I'll also offer like general advice for like anyone as far as like moving forward, right? So come
Mm.
on, screen share. Why are you not doing anything? He's like, oh, let me think about it. Let's see here. Come on, Clip Studio. Oh, Clip Studio, the joys. Well, can you guess who we're gonna go with first? Hi guys. Let me just turn that off because that's a little overwhelming at first. So before I get too far into our first creator here, we have Frank Ace with Alma and Fiend will be the first person we are reviewing today. I did these for all of the entries. I have your manga set up here, and then on the left-hand side, I actually have sort of like a little rubric that I went through. I'll be zooming in a little bit later just so that everyone can see everything. But for now, I'm just kind of zoomed out just so you guys can see what I'm doing. But what I did is I set this up. Hopefully this will be really helpful for all of you guys. That way you guys can sort of learn, okay, how did I judge these? What are some things that I should be thinking about as I'm making my manga? These things are not everything you have to think about. This is just some things that would be really helpful to consider as far as like what are like the bare bones basics that I would like people to consider as far as like moving forward and improving. I just realized that I left a layer on there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in now so that way we can see the whole manga, or at least the whole 2-page spread. One of the things I think is really, really important that not a lot of people do. Hang on. Where did my chat go? Gotta bring up the chat. Here we go. I must have accidentally closed it earlier. Okay, now I can see chat. Awesome. One of the biggest things that I feel like a lot of mangaka do not do, and I'm going to say this now, is plan your manga into page spreads. How many of you already do that? Like when you're doing your sketches, your name, are you like starting your sketches, starting your detail, like starting your thought process as 2-page spreads? Yeah. Well, and I mean that's one of the things that's kind of interesting. That's why I think originally the it was going to be a different length for the initial idea that we had when we were putting together like how do we want to do this? And I'm like, let's do like 4 pages. That way we get 2 opportunities for 2 page spreads because there's a couple panel types that exist like between spreads, right? And we'll get into that just a little bit more later. Um yeah, you should always do, you should when you're planning your like your storyboards, we call them layouts in Western comics, but in they're called like 2 page spreads. You should always plan 2 pages at a time. And the reason is if your work should ever be printed and on many manga hosting platforms, the pages are going to be displayed side by side as a default. For the most part, not all of them are that way. I think like with Manga Plus creators, if it's left to right, they'll like stack them on top of each other. And then like on Global Comics, for example, like you can also determine, hey, like how do I want it to display? And some readers will choose to turn off double page spreads, some will leave them on. But you should always make sure that if your work is displayed as 2 page spreads, that they look good together, that they work together. So always do that. So I judge these as if they were, 2 page spread, 2 page spread. So just to like clear that out of the way. So our first one here is from Frank. Frank, are you here?
Yes, I
Hi.
thank
Yeah.
you for this is just an honor to be considered to have
Yeah, for
my
sure.
thing critiqued and all.
Yeah, for sure. I thought this was really cute. I do have a question for you though, because I was wondering this while I was like rating yours. Is yours like do you consider this finished? Or is this more of like an in-between sketch state?
Um, no, it's not finished.
Okay.
I had yeah, I tried to get it as close to finished just because I was
Okay,
down to the
yeah.
wire.
Okay, I
But
wasn't sure because it
yeah,
kind of looks
uh,
finished. It's very clean. And so that's why I was like, is this finished or not? Because this looks really, really clean. So I was like, if these are clean, if these are like sketches, these are the cleanest sketches I've ever seen.
oh,
That's why I
thank
wanted to
you.
ask. But
Um,
yeah, that was but that's also its weakness, one of its weaknesses. One of the big things that I've noticed between these pages, and I'll turn on my like my I call them my red lines. I'll turn on my red lines in a minute so you can see all the notes that I made. You probably saw them when I initially showed my screen.
I,
Is and this is my biggest bit of feedback for you before I dig into everything else. The biggest bit of feedback that I have is your line weight, at least as it is here. So all I can say is as it is here is very thin. It's very delicate, and you don't have a delicate story. Like you have like action and danger and oh god, you're gonna fight this giant fiend guy sort of thing, right? So like
yes.
it sort of like lessens the scary of the fiend that it's like get this cute little delicate artwork, cute little delicate lines. That's why I was asking if it was finished or not. But now that I know that it's not finished, like maybe like do you normally add more like line weight variation to your line art?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, then maybe this part isn't absolutely necessary. I went in and I added a whole bunch just to show like what I meant for like for everyone else as far as like how line weight, just like in the giant, like for example, I put some in the beast down here and just a little bit up here just for everyone else. Line weight, line weight is super duper important because it provides like the illusion of like physical weight or texture as well. Your line art, you can intentionally texture your line art, which is something that I do to like provide a feel for well the texture of things. It's really helpful for things like a good example is if you think of like Japanese brush paintings where you have super fluffy cats. It's almost like a super soft, watery, bleed looking type line versus stuff like this, which is very clean. So, but yeah, I love the clean liner. The
Uh,
first thing that they oh good.
oh no, I just say yeah. With the with what you
Mm-hmm.
did, it looks immensely better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also like I mean, it's not finished. Like now that I know it's not finished, like that changes a lot. So, but I wanted to ask because I didn't want to assume either way. And also really quickly, this goes for everyone that I'm giving feedback to today. I totally forgot to this at the beginning. I'm sorry. Never hesitate to like either like interrupt me or if I provide some feedback. If you have a question, like please ask a clarifying question. One of the things that I use that I like to say when I like give feedback to people is the only dumb question is the one that you don't ask because then you never get the answer. So like there are no dumb questions here other than the one that you don't ask. So like questions are good. And also there may be someone who, even if like they're not the one getting feedback, they may have the same question as you. So like it helps everyone to ask. That's why I made sure I wanted the chat up just in case anyone like watching has a question as well. I want to make sure we don't leave here with any questions if possible. We're going to see if we can do it all in 2 hours. So the first thing that I did was I'm gonna put this on a lower opacity. I moved here, let me turn my feedback here on. I moved your lettering for this very first panel over. What type of margins did you use when you were setting up your pages?
I had this template that's like a what would you call it? Like it had like the bleeds lines
Okay.
and it was just basically two square like outside that. So anything within that, I try to keep it within
Okay.
the but there wasn't any kind of like actual margins for things to line stuff up.
So the way that the margins typically work, and this may be helpful for all of you guys. So let me actually just open like an empty document. Just so I can like, I probably should have had one of my Godsbane pages open just so that I could demo this. Just really fast. So there's a couple things with margins. So this is the whole, imagine this is a piece of paper, right? We have sort of like these two thinner lines. We have these like two thinner lines kind of out here at the edges. And then there's another one that's really close to it. And then there's another one more in the center. So, and then you might see these strange little like X marks or these strange little like little edges. Lines. What is the word? It's a line. It's not a line here at the corner here. This inner line here, it's called the Hanmen. Oopsie. Wow, my own handwriting betrays me. Hanmen, the English name for this is the live area or safe area. Typically, you want all of your panel edges to either end here or go all the way past the bleed. This line here is called your trim. This is where the printer will cut. And then this last line out here is called your bleed. All of your panel edges should, well, I'd say like 99.9% of them. There are a few exceptions. Very, very, very rare exceptions. You see it all the time in shoujo, actually. Shoujo just like, screw the rules. I have shoujo. So, and then this is our paper edge. This is the edge of what we call a genga. Genga, which is like the piece of paper that you do the drawing on. It's called genga. And so like your panel edges should always stop at your live area or go all the way past the bleed. There is no exception. And that's because when the printer goes to cut, they may not have a perfect cut. The cut may go this way. It happens. The cut may be too far in here. I mean, mistakes happen, right? The printers aren't perfect. Sometimes they're cut by people. Stuff happens. Or machines get off. Maybe a gear slips out of place and prints something or cuts something a little too deeply in or not deep enough. So that's why you want to make sure that your panel borders stop here or they go all the way to the edge, like all the way past it. So one of those two. And to me, it looked like for yours, it looked like you put it looked like you put these right here on the trim line based on how thick the difference is between here. It looked like you put your text here on the trim line. All of that to say that. And so you want to make sure that your text, so when it comes to text, there's an extra line in here sometimes. In my Viz Media template, when I work with Viz, they give me a template. My Viz template has an extra line in here called a safety margin. Oh, sorry. Do we have any colorblind folks in here? I just realized I'm using orange and a greenish color. Do we have any colorblind folks in here? Okay, I hope not. If so, please let me know. Yes? Okay. Thank you for letting me know. I'll use a different color. Are you okay with blues? Because I can use black if I need to. Or I'll just use another dark color. Thank you for letting me know. All right. Can you see my oranges? I just realized that I did a lot of orange, like orangey reds. Are you able to see them okay? Just want to make sure. Want to make sure you aren't missing out on anything. So, okay, cool, perfect. Blue's perfect. Okay, cool. We'll stick with like a bluish color moving forward. Thank you so much for letting me know. But anyway, so this here is called a safety margin. And this, so the safety margin is more so like if you guys ever end up working with Viz, you'll get the safety margin. The safety margin is sort of like, the live area is the live area for like, for printing and tankobon. But this outside safety margin is the quote live area for the magazine. And this way the mangaka can go with the innermost margin and know that everything will be safe. Basically, it allows you to anticipate for both margins. And so if you ever see this extra line, that's not where your text bubble goes. That's your safety margin for printing magazines. Yeah, absolutely, Jim. Yeah, I have a friend of mine who's colorblind and he makes manga as well. So I'm always having to think about that when I do my red lines for him. I can't use red. So been there, done that. Let's see here. So yeah, I would definitely pay attention. Sorry, my cat. No, get down. My cat has decided to make an appearance. So I would definitely try to keep all of your text. So okay, anyway. So all of your text itself, like here's our text, that should stay inside your live area. Always. Unless it's sound effects. Sound effects can kind of go outside it just a little bit. I try to keep my sound effect or my sound effects within the safety margin, because it's a little bit bigger than like the live area. And so I kind of use the safety margin as sort of like the furthest that I'll let my text go. And that's what Hisashi-san also recommended when I had to ask him about the safety margin, because I hadn't seen that before. When he gave me the template and I'm like, oh, what does this line mean? I feel like an idiot for not knowing that. Let's see. Quick question from Lily. Is the page template the same as the it sounds sorry, yeah, same one CSP has. So the template that I got for Viz is completely independent of anything you'll find in Clip Studio. I had to make my own template when I got the Viz one. The closest thing that I would recommend if you want to try to stick as close to a professional template as possible, I use the Shueisha template A. I believe there's one for like the shoujo magazines, which is like Margaret and stuff. There's one template there that I could recommend, and then the other one might be the template A, which is I think like Jump or Young Animal or Kodansha or something. Like it's like I think it's Shueisha template A. That's what I used when I was doing my name for Hisashi-san when I was working on Onami, and he was happy with that. So. Right. Sorry, Frank, you're gonna get I have to drop all this information first.
Oh no, totally appreciate all this.
For sure, yeah. But yeah, so that's sort of like the biggest thing with your lettering or like your stuff here is it looks like you weren't quite sure how to use your margins. So I would definitely kind of maybe do some more research on that. Clip Studio has like a fantastic guide for it within like the Clip Studio tutorial section of like how to use the margins. I unfortunately do not have the link with me at this moment. But I would definitely recommend going to the Clip Studio manual and looking up the margins, and it'll tell you how to use them and everything. There's also a lot of really great tutorials all about it. And then the lettering also, kind of while we're on the topic of lettering, for the one of the things that I noticed was I versus I. So in lettering, there's two different types of I's. And this is pretty universal between comics and like Western comics and manga. We call it the barred I, has the lines on top and bottom. And then we have the slash I, which is just straight up and down. There are specific times you use each one. So the barred I is used if it's the personal I. So like I am or I'd have. So like even if it's like a contraction like IVE, like I have, I've, that would be another time that you use it. Another time you can use that is if the bubble starts with a word that starts with the letter I, that would be another time you would use it. I think you have one here. Yeah, if. So this would be one time where you would use the capital I as well. But for the most part you kept to that. There was just a few like right here. And like right here, it was almost always the word it, which was interesting. Yeah, it. So like for the most part, you got it right. I just noticed that there were a few times, and I wasn't sure if you knew about that rule, so I just wanted to let you know.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't know. I think it's just the font that was available that did
Yeah,
that. So, but that is something that I honestly didn't know about the whole two eyes. I didn't or
yeah.
even noticed.
Was honestly a weakness for everyone. All of the entries that I looked at. I just dropped a link in the Zoom chat for you guys, for those that are in the Zoom. For those of you who are not in the Zoom, I would recommend going to Blambot. I'll write that word out for you right here. Oh,
No, I've sent it in the chat, Jackson. No
oh,
worry.
perfect. Thank you so much. Blambot is run by a man named, I hope I don't butcher his name, Nate Pecos. And he literally wrote the book on lettering I used it when I was doing my first lettering gig with a publisher in the UK. And it literally saved me from having a panic attack and freaking out. It is so helpful. And his book is generally considered the standard that even manga letterers use. So like for example, when with VIZ, I have the option of lettering my own stuff. However, I was really short on time, and so I let VIZ letter it for me. But next time, with Hisashi's own suggestion, I will probably letter it myself. That way it's the way that I like it. But I would definitely like lettering was like basically the universal weakness that I found today. And I know it's like, oh, it's just lettering, it's just bubbles. Lettering can make or break you. That is one of the things that I look for, because if you can pay attention to lettering, you can pay attention to everything else. Because if you care so much about how good this page looks that you're even looking up lettering without being told to, you'll be fine. So lettering is incredibly important. So please, and I talk about that throughout this. As far as your actual pages, I think this is really cute. I love the story. I thought it was really funny. The only thing story-wise that I didn't understand is this figure important somehow?
No, when it came down
Okay.
to the end, I just didn't know what to
Uh-huh.
put there, so I thought a
Okay.
Funko Pop would be funny.
I wasn't sure if it was like a specific Funko Pop, and I'm like, is this a specific person? And I just don't recognize who it is
Oh, I
because
don't
they
know
tend.
either.
Oh, okay, cool. I wasn't sure. That's why I was like, because it would be hella funny if it was like an actual Funko Pop that was somewhat related to what your story was about. So like,
Uh,
is there like a Funko Pop with like in like a dinosaur series or something? Like that would be or like a JR. This feels very JRPG coded. And so like that would be kind of funny if it was like actually important, and maybe it was like a pop culture joke that maybe she just didn't understand. So like that could be kind of funny too. I'm not sure what the copyright legalities of that are. But I mean, this is for fun. Who cares? Right?
yeah.
Oh yeah, and then the big thing as far as like panel flow. So to look at our notes here, Komawati is basically panel theory. And the idea does anyone know what visual hierarchy is? Just out of curiosity, who knows what the phrase visual hierarchy means?
Uh,
Like, yep. Do you know, Frank?
oh, no, no, no. I feel like I've heard that before, but
Hmm.
I can't
Okay.
remember what it is now.
So visual hierarchy is yeah, visual hierarchy applies in way more than just web design though. Yeah, basically, Jim. Yeah, basically. So the idea is that you're intentionally directing the eye around the page or around the image or whatever it is intentionally. And so that concept is really important in komowani, where you are purposely trying to guide the eye a specific way. And so interrupting that can cause confusion with readers. And one of the things that I had a little trouble understanding is, do we go this way? Do we go, let me use a darker blue, sorry. Do we go this way? Like, which way is the proper way to read this? So do we start, do we read this bubble, then this bubble, then this bubble? Or do we read this one, then this one, then this one? Like the order itself, if you read them, you get the context. But based on where things are placed here, it's a little confusing, because if you read this one first, if the info I got in town is right, it should be around here. Come on, where the heck is that thing? That doesn't make sense. But she's on the left. And if you were to draw this out, you basically have this. And in manga, you're supposed to read this 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
So yeah, so this is called blockage. And and at least it's in Western comics. It's I don't know if it's like what the phrase for this is in manga, but basically it's the concept of like how do you know what panel to read next? And because you have your bubbles here and your art here like contradicting, I was immediately confused. Like before I even got past panel 3. So I didn't know what panel was next. The text tells me which one is next, but I shouldn't have to read the text to figure out what the order is. And this panel flow, Komawani, is one of like the key things that they'll look for when you submit things to places like Viz or the Silent Manga Edition. It's really, really important that your reader doesn't have to guess, because a confused reader is very likely to walk away, especially if they're reading digitally. All they have to do is close the tab and you've lost the reader. So the less chances you have to confuse them, the better. So my suggestion is either you want to physically separate these panels to make it very clear which one you read next, which is possible. That would probably be the easiest solution with the least amount of changes. If you want to change something, super easy, just swap these. And then you won't get to show all of her. So like you're going to have to choose, and if you're going to rework this, how you would make the reading order a lot more clear. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. When I was laying it out in my like initial sketches,
Mm-hmm.
I thought about that, the panel flowing, and but like
Mm-hmm.
more like a large Z. I didn't know about like the order there of like one, two,
Mm-hmm.
three. Instead,
Yeah.
I had that, and then have her looking to the left to kind of lead the eye to the bigger version of her, but also like
Right.
where that middle bubble is, and then kind of yeah, like a big Z, kind of like working its way down, like
Right,
zigzag.
but the problem
But
is that that goes
yeah,
against what modern like against what manga readers are taught, as far as like so one of the things that's really important is you have to anticipate how your reader is going to react. You
hmm
cannot
hmm
just throw in a completely different like organizational system at them, because like I said, you're going to confuse them. If I were to, because this is how we'll see it, because she basically makes a whole panel by herself, the way that because she stands on top of these two panels, right? So
right.
she's basically creating a third panel indirectly here. And so the eye is going to break it down like this. And our eyes are trained to do, oopsie, our eyes are trained as manga readers to go 1, 2, 3. And then if we read the bubble in that order, that doesn't make sense. So if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
read one, yeah. So I would prioritize. So the thing is always prioritize your readers' needs over your wants. Always. If you want to do cool, the rule of cool will only take you so far. The rule of cool is basically like, this looks really cool. I really love how this looks. That doesn't mean anything if your readability is trashed. So, like, does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I
yeah. That
would,
was the one thing I was really struggling with
mhm.
was like
Yeah,
paneling, and so that what took me the
mhm.
longest to do
Yeah,
was kind of laying it all out. And
yeah. The
yeah,
easiest fix for this is just to swap the text in the bubbles, or to actually create a barrier here. And like maybe zoom out or make her smaller. Just make her a little bit smaller so that maybe only her head sticks out. You'll have this nice background back here, and this will give you a little bit more room up here as well, because her foot was covered. I didn't like that. It felt like her foot was like immediately cut off. I don't know if you did that to lead the reader into this bubble, but I don't like that. It makes it feel a little claustrophobic. And you want to make sure everything has room to breathe. This is the first time we're seeing the character. You don't want to be cutting parts of her off. Does that make sense?
okay. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. And then with this one, for the most part, the big thing here is one bubble, one thought. So here you have two complete sentences in this bubble. You have one here and you have one here. One thought, one bubble. You have to break this up into two different bubbles. So my suggestion would be to have the there it is up here, and to either have the I can attack it while it's sleeping here, or have it here.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason is I know that it's really tempting to just like put it all in one bubble. So I have a question for you. Do you plan your bubble? Sorry, my brain keeps wanting to use the Japanese word. Is your brain planning the speech bubbles? Or sorry, are you planning the speech bubbles while you do your sketches?
Yes. Try to
Okay,
like
cool. Good,
leave
good,
space for the bubbles.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like as far as the most like the easiest place to put it is down here. Because that way we go, 1, 2, 3. So that works. Or if you want to utilize the empty space that you have up here, you totally can. Also it would help because it's like I can attack it and it's literally sitting on top of the beast. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to attack it. So that could work. Either one I think would be fine. I think you'll have to actually do it and see where it looks like it would fit better. But generally we try to keep one thought per bubble. And when I say thought, I mean like one complete sentence. Um, that's like more of like the usual way of doing it. All right, for the next page, I had a question. Does she know how to wield a sword? Does she actually like I'm asking her you as like the knower of this character, does she
um,
actually know how to wield a sword? Because this doesn't look like a proper way to wield a sword. It looks like you did it to show off the figure, like, I'm gonna get you, beast. Like that was how it kind of felt. Because it doesn't look like she actually knows how to do this.
honestly, I just yeah. There's no real big history or story over the characters. I kind
Okay.
of just came up with the simplest thing as possible to
Right.
kind of
Yeah, you had a short
yeah
window.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, because the reason why I'm asking is it's like we can see her butt cheeks and her underboob while she's pulling the sword back, which is possible. Like, it is logically possible, but it felt like the pose was more about showing off her body than showing her like getting ready to launch an attack. Like when it's just the equivalent of like when Saitama pulls his fist back, he's about ready to punch someone. It's the same moment as far as the value of that moment, and it felt like it was more to show off her body. Because if you think about how her spine has to twist to be able to show her butt like that, because you can see both booty cheeks. So like it just felt like I didn't understand what the purpose of this moment was. I'm asking, I'm not accusing,
Oh
I'm asking.
yeah. I don't. I tried just I guess a dynamic shot, I guess, or something to kind
I
of
see, yeah.
break up
That's
the start of the thing, and then
yeah.
yeah.
That makes more
But
sense. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask. Because some people they like doing that, and I'm not going to judge people on how they want to tell stories or what types of stories they want to tell. I know people who do that on purpose. That's why I have to ask. It's unfortunately I have to ask. So yeah, no, that's fine. The other thing is when you have an overlay panel, like we call this a breakout panel in Western comics. When you have a breakout panel like this, her action brings her down. So where does the eye go? It goes down, then it goes back up. That's not the flow that we want. Because I'm assuming that this is panel 1, this is panel 2, this is panel 3, and this is panel 4, correct?
uh, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. So her feet hanging out of this panel points us down this way. So you're misleading the reader as far as like you're telling the eye where to go and it's going in the wrong place. Um, so what I might recommend is do not have her sticking out here. Cut that off. And this will actually help you because now you'll have space to actually do this bubble correctly. Because one of the things that I noticed here is that the bubbles aren't in the right place. Because this is 1 and this is 2. Your reading direction is right to left, but you're putting your bubbles in left to right. Don't do that. Keep it consistent. So that's why I read that. So you'll fix this. You'll fix this in general by cutting this off. Bubble 1, so put this one here, and then bubble 2, put this one here, and then you'll have it in the correct order, and you'll be able to read. Boop. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah, and then the thing here also, I did this in like my suggestions. Let me turn this up. Let's see. All right, cool. All right, we need to move on here a little bit. This felt like it could have been a little bit more impactful. So like show the impact here. Like show it off. Oh, pew pew pew. Like this is probably a heavy sword. So it's gonna hit the ground pretty hard. You just think of Berserk or Guts. He's got the freaking Dragon Slayer. It's just a slab of I'm gonna say slab of meat. It's not a slab of meat, it's just a slab of iron, right? It's heavy. And then also here, you said you're gonna fix the line weight. Not worried about it. You're already good. And I did add a little bit more whoosh to your Z here. Your zhoosh, zwoosh. So yeah, definitely add some more weight behind this to show that, oh, this is a heavy sword, it hit the ground. Oh, sorry, jump scare there. It like hit the ground really heavy. It just felt like there was not enough weight here. And so you can fix that by adjusting your line weight. Also study bird and raptor feet for those claws. Like, I mean, chickens are good examples. Roadrunners are also really great examples because they're made to run. So like look up raptor feet, specifically like running birds like ostriches or emus. Cassowaries are a fantastic example for these types of creatures. Scary as heck. You know, they're modern day dinosaurs. So cassowary might be a good suggestion. And then with this one, my only complaint about this panel is the action is going this way to the left or to the right, but the reading direction is supposed to go right to left. So you're like going against the reading direction. I see why, because she's having to turn around. I think this is one time where you can kind of like break reality a little bit, because who knows? This is my fun question time. My any of my former students will know this. Who knows what this last panel of the 2-page spread is called? Does anyone know? This specific panel has a name. What is this panel called? Or do you know what it does? If you don't know the Japanese name for it, that's fine, but do you know what it does? What's its purpose?
Would it be to set up like anticipation?
But it has a very specific name in manga. Don't Google it. Okay, it's called Hikigoma. Hikigoma. I'm going to type it out for y'all. Hikigoma. Literally the pulling panel. Hiki is it basically just means like to pull on something or to lead something based on the kanji that it uses. And so what it's doing is yeah, you got the H right. guys are good. Yeah, page turn. There's really not like a specific name for it in English or like Western comics. But its job is to pull us into the next panel. That's its job. And by virtue of that, the very first panel on the new 2-page spread also has a name. Who knows what that one is and what it does? What is its purpose? You guys will learn a lot today, I bet. And this is all part of what we call let's see. Yeah, mekurigoma. Correct. Yeah, mekurigoma. So I tend to view the mekurigoma when I'm planning it. And Hisashi-san has told me that this is typically like a good way to think about it, is it's your reward for turning the page. It answers the question of what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? She turns around, she's like, oh, I'm gonna hit that dinosaur, right? And so this kind of sets it up a little bit. So I feel like this works. This is fine. I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Like maybe she hits it. So maybe you've got 2 panels here. Maybe she hits it here, and then you see it get like really mad, like you shouldn't have done that. So like maybe use this to like really set it up so that it's like, you know, grrr, like really set that up. And then it just, bam, it just punches her, basically, headbutts her, sorry. It doesn't punch, it doesn't have the arms to do that. It punches her with his face. Literally just rams her, which is crazy. Yeah, so like so again, to kind of review really quick, the last panel on a 2-page spread is called Hikigoma. And basically its job is to pull the reader into the next page. This is why it's so important to plan 2 pages at a time. Is you want to set up a good hikigoma and a good mekurigoma, so that way when they turn the page, oh god, I gotta keep reading. They're rewarded for that. And it answers the question, oh, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? And then they keep reading. So, and you want to do that on every single 2-page spread. It can get a little exhausting sometimes, but that's why it's good to plan in 2-page spreads. And so this is a good mekurigoma. This is great. Good job. It answers what's gonna happen next. It rams her. It like punches her with his face. The only yeah. So it's really fun. It's great. The only thing that I had here as like a logistics question, because this is just how my brain works. It looks like it hit her up here, but she's holding it holding herself down here, and her ribs are up here. So
Yeah,
like, which one was it?
I don't
Little
know.
like
It just
my that's like my like that's like my logistics brain going, wait a minute. You know, like the fry, the fry gif where he just squints, like that was me. I'm like, wait, it's her ribs. Where are her ribs? So just little stuff like that. So small, super small thing. Maybe just bring her hand up a little bit higher. So she's like, oh, I don't know if you've ever been hit in the ribs before. I used to study Kempo, which is like a form of karate, and my sensei would hit my ribs every chance he got to remind me to keep my elbows in place. Every chance he got, he'd hit me there. It hurts. It literally knocks the wind out of you every time. At least when he does it. I don't do that anymore, but I used to. And then kind of a nitpicky watch how things line up with the edges of panels. Do you guys know what a tangent is? It's my least favorite thing in the world, but it's probably the most common thing that I found with your like other than like meh lettering. Do you guys know what a tangent is and why is it a bad thing? It's like art class. Yeah, so a tangent is when a tangent is when like lines or corners line up or almost line up in such a way that it kind of ruins like the 3D look of things. So because his snout here almost perfectly lines up with this edge here, is he inside the panel or is he outside the panel? So we can't quite tell. Another example would be, let me see if I can find another example. Yeah, right here. There's another example. Is he in the panel? Is he out the panel? Is he coming to life? Do I need to run away? Like, you know what I mean? So pay
yeah,
attention to like how things could like accidentally line up and just make things like a little awkward. And to be fair, I am extremely guilty of tangents too. I find them all the time when I'm doing my sketches. It's like, no, like so like I actually have part of my process. I have like a checklist in my process, which is where part of this the rubric came from. This is stuff that I use for me too. So like, you know, I practice what I preach there. But that tangent, whoop, hit Z instead of spacebar. Classic me. Like tangents can really ruin the 3D effect of things. And when you have a dinosaur running at you, probably very quickly, you got to make sure your tangents are working, or rather, you don't have tangents. Yeah, exactly. I am a tangent hunter. It's one of the things I'm always pointing out in like review sessions because like it's a small thing, but when you have a whole lot of them, it's like cilantro, right? Like if you hate cilantro, I love cilantro. I have cilantro tea. Like literally, I make tea out of it. But like if you have a little cilantro, it's fine. But if you add a buttload of cilantro to something, it's gonna ruin it. Right? So like keep the cilantro tangents to a minimum. And then the lettering here, oopsie, I don't know why it picked gray. The lettering here, it doesn't need to go behind him. I can't even read what this was. I think it's Gur. Like you don't need to go that far because I can't even read this. And I mean it's kind of lining up in a weird way too. Kind of like near his groin area. So like maybe just leave it out. Maybe just leave it out. This is fine. Like, you know, like this is fine, but like really like push it. It's like really just make it look like he's like really like right there, right there. Like maybe put it between so that it overlaps him a little bit, but goes behind her so that it gives us the illusion that the sound is between them. So that could be really fun. So maybe try that. And then the oh crap, get away, get away, get away. Like this is I think is fine. This is one of the times where I think it's okay to have like thoughts in like multiple thoughts in one bubble. I mean, she's running away. It's fine. And then the other thing here is I would completely get rid of this panel. But I would use this pose where she's reaching out and put that here. So take this pose and put it here. And then have this take up the whole panel. Because this is really, 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 really important moment. She's getting ready to reach for her sword. You're setting up for, oh God, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? Like let the reader live in that moment. But then also zoom in here. Zoom in because this is the danger. The teeth are the danger. So like highlight that danger, like zoom in there, make it feel like we're just about to get eaten. Like if you guys know the game Okami, when Ami's about to get eaten by the water dragon, like it's that moment. Let it be scary. Let us feel and see what the character is feeling, and don't zoom out just because we can. And also like when it's like Jaws, right? Like the scariest moment is when it's like right there in your face. You're like, ah, right? So like live into that. And then this is fine. This is fine. I love that this is all there is. I think that worked great because it gives negative space for us. Oh, it's over. We did it. Like, oh, I just dropped my pen. Classic me. Let me find. Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, the only thing is I'd add some more line weight. And then here for this panel, there's no pain. She just broke a rib or two. There's no blood on her. There's no scratches. Did she get like Fern's cloak cleaning spell, or she's just magically clean? Like she just got blood splattered all over her. She should be dirty, unless it's like game logic, right? Game logic might apply here. That's why I'm not sure if it's JRPG inspired. So that would be something I would think about. Also, there's going to be blood here too. So like I would again logical stuff. And then this is funny. When it's the poof, like maybe have some like smoke, or maybe just like something to show that hey, something magically disappeared, or like make it look like a video game, maybe where like video game type graphics or something. Like lean into it, have fun with it, right?
Yeah, originally I had the thought of the dinosaur kind of disintegrating and then the poof would happen, but I was already like down to like the wire that I threw it at, and I was like, I got to finish this quick.
I think this works. We know contextually that the dinosaur is already dead, so like we don't need the context of it laying there and slowly evaporating. I don't think, but what I might add is a glitch effect. So like to show that it's maybe like a video game, like you know how you can have it sort of like glitch. I have a brush for it, but I don't want to dig it out because I don't know like which of my Infinite brush folders I put it in. But they're like I would maybe consider maybe like a little glitch effect so that it's like, oh hey, like we can tell it's an electronic thing and just like maybe lean into it being a video game type thing. Could be kind of fun. And then this is great. Like Sheen, this here is really cool because did you like warp this a little?
The
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good touch. That's a really good touch. I would add maybe some like kirikara, like sparkles or something to show like ta-da! Or maybe like if you're gonna like when you do your shading, like just make this whole thing like a gray, and then have this be that like actually shade this so that make it. I know it technically it's not dark around her, but like this is one of those situations where I think rule of cool applies more than logic. Like make that really, really fun. So it's like, what's in the chat that's glowing? And then boop. Like what frick? Like, and I love her expression. She's just sort of like, what is this? Like, oh my, what did I just risk my life for? So like this could be really fun. That's like depending on like how you shape this, how you finalize it. So yeah, I think this is really fun. I think the bigger like struggle here is just understanding how the visual hierarchy works, and how to set it up best for the reader. And that takes practice. Like Komoani is one of the things that is really, really difficult to master, and everyone uses it just slightly differently. So different mangaka have different habits. So like Toriyama uses it completely differently than Shirahama sensei, Witch Hat Atelier. So like they'll use it completely differently. And then then you have like, Watase sensei, who does things like Fushigi Yuki. She uses it completely differently than Miura sensei. So like everyone utilizes it a little differently. And then I'm not gonna go through all of these. I went ahead and wrote everything down for you so you can review it on your own time. Everything that I just talked about is in here. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much.
Any questions? Yeah. Any questions? And I know yours took a little bit longer, but that's because I had to explain a lot of concepts for the first time. We won't have to do that with everybody else. But did you have any other questions for me?
Yeah,
I'll turn it back on.
But I guess more just yeah, like with you kind of sort of answered a lot of them with like lettering and stuff, and just kind of I think also something that I had trouble with was kind of like sound effects. Like, how do you decide which sound effects and how they look in a when you're laying it all
Hmm.
out? You know,
That's a
because
trick. It's kind of a tricky question. So the way that it was explained to me is sound effects provide ambiance. So like the sound effects should provide you with more information or context. So like here's a good example. There's za, and then there's sa, and then there's sha. They are all sounds for rain. There's also plip 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 or patta 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 patta, which would be sort of like a rain on a tin roof, maybe. And so like there's different types of rain. Um, um, Trisha, could you grab a link to, do you know the Jaded Network? Do you know the platform? If not, I can grab a
no,
link really quick. The Jaded
no.
Network. So the Jaded Network is a website that I recommend for everybody. It is a fantastic resource for people who are looking for sound effects. And what's really great about it is recording. Come on, Google. There we go. Ooh, sorry. Joking on air all of a sudden. My goodness. So the Jaded Network is a resource for both Japanese and English sound effects. Now here's something to consider. You should not use Japanese sound effects if your audience is English speaking. I don't care if the aesthetics are cool. Don't do it. VIZ, when I initially made my submission to VIZ with Godsbane 2 years ago, they told me to take out all of the Japanese sound effects. There's no reason to have them because these are English reading speakers. Like they don't know like Japanese sound effects, right? Like they don't know. And by the way, which there are 3 types of Japanese sound effects: Giseigo, Gitaigo, and Gyongo. They all have different types of. They're all like different types of sounds. One of them isn't really sound at all. So like there's like most manga readers or English speaking readers don't understand that. And so and also like when you do Japanese sound effects, sometimes you use katakana, sometimes you use hiragana. If it's more of like an emotion, Full Alchemist does this all the time. They'll use kanji, especially when like Riza calls Roy useless. It just shows the kanji for useless, basically. So like that wouldn't be helpful to your reader because they're not going to know that. So like just use English. But some concepts are hard. So like for example, silence is jin, and it's like they literally write out jin and it means silence. So like there's one where like someone opens the door and there's a cat staring at him. And it just shows the cat's face, big-eyed and like pupils dilated, and it says jin. And like the Japanese reader knows that it's silence, but they literally have like a sound effect for silence. And then there's like another not quite sound. I mean, it's less a sound effect and more of like a mood. Don. You see this a lot in One Piece. And it's like impact the moment. Ta-da! Like it's that kind of feeling. And so like, Japanese sound effects are, and like if you use katakana versus hiragana, that tells you what type of sound it is. Is it a harsh sound? Is it a quiet sound? Is it a softer sound? Is it a cute sound? Like all of those things matter. So like when it comes to English sounds, this can be an excellent database for what types of sounds they use for English. Because what it does is they look at existing manga that have like the sound effects in them and what the original Japanese was. So it's really, really valuable resource. If you don't know what sound to use, that could be helpful for you. As far as like just type in rain and you'll get all these different examples for what rain could be. And sometimes they even have visuals of the panel where that was used to show you like how it was drawn or written. So absolutely,
Wow,
I definitely recommend this. Yeah, it's been really helpful for me. So that's where I would
awesome.
start. But also looking up what is the difference between Giseigo, Gyongo, and Gitaigo? Like what's the difference? What are they? How do you use them? As far as like what types of sound effects exist within manga, because that's something that differentiates it between Western comics. Western comics don't really have um specifications for different types of sound effects. It's just they're all sound effects. Manga actually differentiates those things because they have the multiple alphabets of both katakana and hiragana that they use. So they have to like differentiate things and kanji. So all right. Any last minute questions before I move on?
No, thank you so much, man. I've learned so much, and wow.
You're welcome.
So
Yeah, the good thing is being recorded for you guys. I'm sure you guys will use it later. All right. So I believe next we have Theo. Theo, are you here?
Yeah, hi. How are you?
Hi. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So yours, for the most part, was pretty easy to understand. As far as like, there wasn't really a lot for me to like redline for you. So for the most part, you did a really great job. I mean, and they're sketches, right? So like, it's not like, oh, you didn't finish the drawing here. How dare you? So that's not really the issue here. For the most, so the bigger thing that I had noticed for your work to kind of I guess I don't need to move that over, is some 180 rule breakage that kind of disrupted the flow a little bit. And then there was more lettering issues, mostly like where do I put the text, tangents, but as well as like making sure that the bubbles or the text within the bubbles are squared off. In Western comics, we tend to have more horizontal bubbles. So like I'm not gonna fault anyone for anything, but also I'm not sure like sorry, my brain just stopped. I forgot the question. You guys ever have that happen to you where you have a question and then you just like absolutely just like lose the train? It leaves the station without you. I have a question for you. I ask this as respectfully as I can. Is English your first language?
No, actually, no.
Okay. There were a few weird word choices, but I don't ever want to assume that. So I wanted to check first because I'd like to point those issues out to you just so that you know, and you can fix them. But they're very minor things. I just thought the word that was picked was a little strange, and so I wasn't sure. Thank you for letting me know. All right. So yeah, so I'll go through and I'll give some recommendations for you. Because I think the issue was more like this isn't the word we would use in English for it, and if you're making something for an English reader, we might pick a different word. So all right, cool. So the big thing here, for the first couple panels is just tangents, right? So like the word police kind of lands like corner, like sits up here in the corner. It's a little strange. And based on the context of the story, I see that there's like a car accident. I had a hard time telling this was a car accident. What I might recommend when you're showing this is maybe like be more up close. Like here's the tree. It looks like a car hit a tree, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I would actually get up in here. So like here's the tree, here's the car, it's all mangled and stuff. There's the shrapnel, which is, like the metal pieces of the car everywhere. Maybe the door had to be cut open with the jaws of life with the fire department, the rescue team. So like maybe show like a better, you can also have the police car right here with like the siren, doot 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 doot.
I like it.
Yeah, so I would maybe recommend something like this instead. That way it gets us closer to the action. And the text here, there's no other thing that we need to know other than an accident happened. And so something like this might work a little bit better for showing that. And then when it comes to your lettering here, same thing, understanding the difference between what we call the barred eye and the slash eye, same thing. I'm sure it was a new rule for a lot of you guys, so no worries there. Now this is interesting, this sort of like little carrot that you put in here. I do see this in Western comics. In fact, I do use it and when I do lettering for Western comics. And does anyone know, might as well turn this to a teachable moment. What does this carrot mean? When you see a carrot, you originally had it over here. I moved it over here. Who knows what this carrot means when you letter like this? What does this mean? Yes, yeah, good job, Mason. Yeah, it means someone off screen is speaking. What I would recommend if you're going to do this is keep in mind where the character is, what side of the quote screen the character is on that's making that statement. So the character that made that statement, I think, is this one. Was it this character or was it this character that made that?
I wanted to. Yes, the character on the left was the one that made
Oh,
it.
okay,
That's why
okay,
it was in the left.
okay. Then yeah,
Because I wanted
then
the other
yeah.
one to respond. So
Okay. Then yeah, no, you're absolutely right then. So then I was incorrect. Right. So then yeah, this is correct. Then yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. I for some reason thought it was the character over here that was making that statement. So no, you're correct. My apologies. Okay, cool. So he says this. So because this is pointed to the left side, this is applying it to the character that is on the left when we see them in the next panel, right? And so that would be this particular character. That's a really great way to go ahead and start setting up the sort of like spatial awareness for your reader of where characters are. So that was a really good touch. Where did you learn that? Always
I don't
curious to
know,
see
to be
like how
honest.
people study. No, okay. Maybe do you read Western comics? Because I don't really see it in manga that often.
Yeah, I just picked it up, I guess.
Okay. Okay, and yeah, I was gonna say because I almost never see that in manga, so I'm like, this must be a Western comic reader, like wanting to get into manga. So good job there. That's really cool that you kind of like subconsciously picks that up. And then here, so yeah, it would have been a bad place to die. Is there such a thing as a good place? I love the exploration here. I like stories with heavier concepts. I make them myself. So I found the story to be really, really interesting. Here we kind of have the same problem as the one before, where we're talking about keeping your lettering as square as possible. And I can, I guess, demo that just really, really quickly. So when you have your lettering, so here's our bubble, right? We have our text. You want to try to keep your text as square as possible on the inside. And the reason is, when you take your lettering and you like whatever your dialogue text is, right? So, and then you grab an H in that font, in that size, and then you place it all around. And the reason you do this, I'm just kind of simulating what it would look like if I were to do it. You put your H on each corner and then on each side, and that's how you know if you have enough space around your bubbles. The reason we use H is because it's sort of like the most square shaped letter of all the English letters. And so it's a really good estimate if there's enough space. So if you're really struggling with how much space you have in your bubbles, if they feel too tight, like just make an H like by itself on its own layer and move it around and test it to see, hey, do I have enough space? So that's a really, really handy trick that I use for my lettering. So really quickly, Tart. So I just want to address this. Making mistakes is the only way you learn. There is no such like, and every single mistake you make, no matter how like egregious or how bad it is, there's always a lesson to be learned from it. I don't know if you guys know the story really, really quickly. I'll just like drop this anecdote. So the way I got into VIZ was by going to a portfolio review in San Diego. Trisha, you already know the story. So like I didn't so I sat down, like I signed up, I signed in, and I sat down and I got to talking with some of the other people getting reviews. And like we were showing each other portfolios, and it was my turn to show everyone else my portfolio. And these were just general portfolios. The one-shot program was not public yet, so we didn't know it was a thing. And that's why they were there that year, is they were looking for people to invite into the one-shot program. And so I had my stuff. And when I opened the PDF on my Galaxy tablet, I had the wrong portfolio. I didn't even have a portfolio technically. I had the half-finished pitch for Godsbane. So not only am I at a portfolio review, I had the wrong file, and Hisashi Sasaki was there. So that's a horrible first impression to make. And so I'm sitting there, I'm sweating. I feel like I'm going to throw up. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to meet the former editor-in-chief of Shonen Jump and I have the wrong file. Oh my God. And thankfully, my new friends talked me out of leaving. And they're like, no. Like, just be honest and like tell them, hey, I'm really sorry about the wrong portfolio. Can you look at it anyway? And so when I got up, I went to the VIZ Originals editor who was there, and Hisashi-san, and I told them, I said, hey, I'm really sorry. I'm working the convention. I'm here with my company. I brought my work tablet, and so like I have the wrong file. It has XYZ in it. It still has all the basics. Can you look at it without judging it as a pitch? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. You have everything. You have character, environment, sample, sequentials. That's all we need. That's fine. We just can't look at it as a pitch. I'm like, okay, cool. And after that, after it was all said and done, I got the business card from the VIZ Originals editor, and she's like, please follow up with me next week. So I still messed up. I did the worst thing possible for portfolio review, but it still worked out. Sometimes stuff just happens. And so like what I learned from that experience is make sure I have the right one. Make sure I have the right thing. Make sure I like double check, right? So like just pay attention to that kind of stuff and you'll be good. So as far as like moving forward, one of the things that I wasn't sure about, and this happened in like all of your pages here, I wasn't sure where they are. Where are the characters? Are they in a hospital? Are they like at
Yes.
home? Okay, I had no idea they were in a hospital.
Yes, I was going on the details, but
Okay.
well, it's a
Okay,
sketch,
cool. So later. Okay, cool. I wasn't quite sure. I just wanted to check. Because I know like you guys didn't really have like a whole lot of time to put these together. So like I'm not gonna hold that against you or anything, but that was one of the weaknesses here, is I didn't know where they were. And that made me really confused. But no worries, like I said, you didn't have a whole lot of time. So these two panels are fine. Especially once you add details, you know, like the IVs and their wounds or like whatever. So that'll be fine. That'll make it easier to understand. So I won't dwell on that too long. The big thing though is readability as far as like where the bubbles are. Typically when we read panels, we read like in English, we read this way. And so having this down here, our eyes are going to scan the page and see this one first. You know, and then maybe go back down. Or maybe the other possible thing that might happen is we do this and then this. So you want to make sure that it's really, really, really clear what is meant to be read in what order. Same thing we just talked about last time. So my recommendation is to take this bubble and move it up, providing this is the one that's meant to be read first, right?
No, that's
Oh.
actually because I wanted to
So this one's meant to be
the
read
flow.
first.
I wanted the flow to continue from the other one, but I didn't know how. And if I
So
put the first one to the right, it was like weird.
So you wanted it to do this?
Yes.
Okay, no. You need to
All
put the
right.
bubbles in order. So move this one over here and then put this one right here. Always try to keep the bubbles in the correct order that you want them to be read in. Right to left. Well, whatever your reading direction is. If your reading direction is left to right, then this would be appropriate. But since it's not, you definitely want it to be positioned in the right way. So yeah, I would definitely, yeah, let me adjust this then. So then this one needs to go over here. This is number 1, this is number 2. Move this one here. And then try to not have stuff sitting. One thing that I noticed about your lettering is a lot of your bubbles like sat on top of the we call it the waksen in manga with wakusen, which is basically like the panel border. It's okay to crop panels. If you want panels to like sit inside, or bubbles to sit inside a panel, that's okay. Like you don't have to feel bad about that. There's certain ways to do it to make it still read really well. But you generally want to try to like keep your panel, like your bubbles, especially in a panel like this where it's technically a borderless panel. You don't have like any edges here. Try to keep it free, like easy to read. Like this is a little too close. This also sits right here on his shirt, almost hitting the like the edge here. So kind of keep that in mind. This boring is fine. As far as like how horizontal it is. If you wanted to make it more square, just let me do it in white. If you wanted to, boring. Like that's one way you could do it if you wanted to make it more square. But what you had before is perfectly fine. But with this here, I would definitely square this up. So now imagine this. And then I feel like generally when you would say, imagine this, your voice trails off. It's not a hard, imagine this. Imagine this. See how like your voice slowly trails off. Pro tip, act out your dialogue. How would your character say it? Would you say, now this? Or, now imagine this? See how like your voice slowly trails off like this? It goes off slowly. That's where you would add this dot, 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 which is what we call an ellipses. And pro tip, this is a small nitpick. there's a specific character that exists in a lot of fonts that are the 3 dots. They kind of squish them together so you don't have to type out individual dot, dot, dot. There's a specific symbol that you can import using the Clip Studio text tool that will be what we call like that ellipses. That is considered proper lettering and not typing out each individual dot. You can kind of simulate that if your font doesn't have the ellipses. You can, here, I'll show you. So dot, dot, dot. You can simulate that by going over to what we call the character spacing and like squishing them together a little bit. Let me make it smaller and then squish it. Oopsie. Maybe like -1.5. There, okay, maybe 2 or 1 was fine. You guys get the point. It'll depend on what font you're using. The font I'm using is not really proper for manga, so it's not going to look very good. But a lot of manga and comic fonts have that symbol built in. You just have to figure out like how to get it in, and that's the character thing. So what you would do is you click on the little gear icon down here when you have your text tool up, and then it's text, or wait, no, where is it? Setting. I just realized I don't remember where that is. Oh, I think I have to have it selected. Because I don't have anything selected. That's why it's not showing up. Either way, you can import the symbol directly. You can just, it shows like a list and you can just import it directly. I have to have like my type tool active and I don't want to do that because I want to keep moving forward. So, God, Slayer. Very cool. Any questions on like this on this page really quick? I want to keep moving forward, but do you have any questions?
No, it's all right.
Okay, cool. All right, let's keep moving. Wait, Costadin had a question really quick. If oh, that one's for you, Trish. You got that. Cool. Awesome. So the next thing is what we're seeing a memory, or is it like a dream or like a thought? Like they're pretending to have a thought, or is it a memory?
Well, yeah, it's a possibility of a death, so it would be like an imagination of the character.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking is because this is almost it would be akin to like a dream or an illusion, just like a thought. You typically would the panel borders you could change and you could fill it in slightly to give it a more dreamy feel of that way. To basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to separate it and let the reader know that this isn't actually happening. I mean, we kind of know that from the thought here. He said, imagine this. But actually show that. Show, don't tell. When you just have imagine this, you're relying on him telling the viewer that this is just a hypothetical. Show that to the reader as well by adjusting how you present these panels. There's a couple different ways to do that. Maybe you may not, some of you may not like the suggestion. Shoujo is really good at this. This is one of the things Shoujo and Josei are really good at, is dream sequences. And there's a wide variety of ways. Sailor Moon does this a lot. So also another one that does it a lot is Fushigi Yugi. They have a lot of dream sequences. When the character's asleep and she's dreaming of the other, like basically she has to like collect like a group of people to save the world or whatever, and she dreams about them sometimes. And so that's one of the things that Miura really loved about shoujo is how it presents certain information. Miura, like Berserk Miura, loved shoujo. In fact, there's an interview where people are joking that Berserk is a shoujo, and he's like, yeah, it kind of is, isn't it? So like so it's okay to use research in other demographics, maybe outside your own, to get ideas. Because even though you may have a different demographic, how certain information is presented could be similar. I'm not sure if there's like other shonen that like have like a similar concept where they show a dream. I'm sure there are, I just may not know them. But I would definitely maybe look up some dream sequences. And that would be probably the closest thing to like imagining a hypothetical. A hallucination might work as well. So maybe like someone hallucinating, or maybe like a dream sequence. I wouldn't do like a memory type sequence, which usually has like black gutters and then like a filled gray gradient. That's why I shaded these in with gray, and I kind of like popped out, like used a lot of white over top of your margins, just to show the reader, and it's just one possible suggestion, just to show the reader that this is not real life. They're imagining this.
All right.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I had a little confusion on is I can't tell which soldier jumped on the grenade. Like, because they're not it's hard to tell which character is which. And so I would, and I know they're sketches, right? So like as you're planning the final designs for these characters, keep that in mind. Make the character who ends up jumping on the grenade a little bit more identifiable than everyone else. Just so that way the reader will know. Maybe it's patches on his shoulder, like my dad's in the military, and every soldier looks completely different because of their patches, their pins, the stuff on their sleeves. It makes them pretty easy to identify. Even from afar, you know who's what or who's who based on that kind of stuff. So that would be my recommendation. And then this was where I got a little confused. This says bum, and in English, a bum is like a person who's a loser and doesn't have a job. So I think he meant boom. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, I wanted like him saying.
Yeah, so that is spelled BOOM. That's a very big difference.
Yeah, I wanted him to make the sound like.
Yeah. So
boom,
boom would be the word you want to use there. So I can see how you would have been the choice, but spelled BUM, it spells bum, which is like it's a bad way of addressing a person. It's like an insult.
Okay.
And so again, here you're gonna finish this later. One recommendation that I had, or more of a question, I wasn't sure here if because there's very little grammar in your text, and it may be because like you're still finalizing everything, that's fine. Adding things like commas and ellipses can really help provide a clue to the reader on how things are being said, not just what is being said. So for example, I guess it's heroic, but it's an awful way to die, versus I guess it's heroic, but it's an awful way to die. Do you hear the difference? Like one just felt very flat. And then like the way that I said it the second time, so I'll say it again. I guess it's heroic, but it's an awful way to die. Like, how would you write that with the pauses and the drifting off? How would you write that in dialogue versus just saying it flat out? Like, I guess it's heroic, but it's an awful way to die. Like, it sounds completely different. The tone is different. Your lettering should also act out how things are said, not just what's being said. And when you end something with an ellipsis, so this is a bubble and this is a bubble. So let's pretend they're separate bubbles. If you end a bubble with an ellipsis, which is the ... your next bubble of the same character, like if the character continues to speak, the next bubble should start with the ... The reason why we do that is that helps the reader connect the two thoughts together. It's sort of like a pause. Heroic, but it's an awful way to die. Like there's a pause there, but that helps tell the reader that they're basically the same thought, just broken up into two different parts. So small suggestion. I just wanted to make that suggestion, and I thought it was a great opportunity to bring up the ellipses thing. So thank you for being a good example. Perfect time to bring that up. And then here we have this here. I would move this bubble over here because with this we're kind of going the opposite direction, and I know you're kind of a little tight on space here at the bottom. Because your story is right to left, we want to try to keep that reading direction even with our bubbles. Only do like a Z bubble if you absolutely Z bubble pattern if you have to, and what I mean by that is like this. You know, only do this if you absolutely have to. Try to keep it in like a J shape or something. These are fine. These look perfectly fine. Like I said, you're still sketching, so there's not a lot to add. You did this perfectly. Out ... in the snow. Perfect job. Good. So like I said, for the most part, this I don't know what's going on here. What's happening in this panel?
I was trying to show later when he actually dies, like he bleeding out. And
Is this like a set of stairs?
yeah.
Okay,
It was a
change
reference to Blade Runner, but
okay. Yeah, change the angle a little bit. It was a little bit confusing, so maybe changed it so that it's, like this.
okay.
That way, and like really zoom in so that we like we're zoomed in on here. So like maybe do that. See, I've not seen Blade Runner. I had no idea what it was. So like don't assume that your reader will know those inside jokes. Never assume those things. Because I had no idea what it was. I historically am famous for not watching movies. I don't like watching movies. I know, weird. Especially for someone who studied animation, and I hate movies. But yeah, so that's perfectly fine. I would just maybe adjust the angle a little bit to make, because like looking down at it, it kind of ruins the perspective a little bit, so it's a little hard to read. But I think that would be a really good choice. So just adjust the angle a little bit, maybe make it a little bit more clear. And that should be perfectly good. So great job on that one. This is cool. Chills, literal chills. Great dialogue there. I thought that was really nice. Just watch your border here, down here at the bottom. It's a little close. This is not relevant now. So this is just talking about the background. This is great. I love this. This like awkward silence between them. Really well done. Who knows what type of panel these are? This has a name. When you have panels that don't have panels that are reactions, basically, that don't have dialogue, this type of panel has a name in manga. Do you guys know what it is? I'll write the comment so you can see if anyone knows it. Don't judge my stroke order. Sometimes I get the stroke order wrong. Mood coma. No, not quite. No, it's related to a specific concept in Japanese etiquette, like speaking etiquette. my stroke order is, but you can still read it, right, Trisha? You still know what it means. My Japanese teacher would be on my ass about that if she saw me write it. Goma. So ma is basically a concept in Japanese culture where and correct me if I'm incorrect, Trisha. You're the one living in Japan, not me. So like with ma, the idea is that you are not thinking of your response while the other person is talking. You are an engaged listener, active listening skills. You're listening. You're not necessarily thinking of your response right away. After that person is finished speaking, you pause, you think about what they said, you think about your response, and then you respond. The idea here is that you're creating a period of reaction. Studio Ghibli does this all the time. Lupin the Third is a really good example. There's a car chase scene, right? Car chase, super excited, action. They're flying off of cliffs and stuff. And then there's the moment where everything gets quiet. And he stops to pause and rest. That is ma. It's time to breathe, let things in. It's also seeing reactions. That's what this is a really good example of. They just talked about death and dying. Like, what's the best way to die? That's not a conversation you have every day. And it's just kind of soaking in. Right, exactly. Yeah, you're processing it. Exactly. That's a much better way of saying it. And then here we have, don't worry, we are still alive. I know. I would do ellipses here. Just to like really, if you want to emphasize the pause. If not, I would actually separate the bubbles into two different bubbles if you want to. That way you feel a greater pause, because if you read this, I know. Is it more of a, I know, or is it a, I know, like which one is it? And so like that's actually a good question. So which one is it? Is there more of a pause between the I knows, or is it more of like I know?
Yes, it's a pass.
Okay, then yeah, I would separate the bubbles and let the reader feel that pause, because they have to read this. I know. Like you actually feel it rather than just seeing the words, right? Act out how things are being said by strategically placing your dialogue. So when I was studying animation, that was one thing that we did when we were like, I have a 2-year animation degree, and one of the things that we did while we were studying is we actively like had to like make video recordings of ourselves acting out characters' lines. Like, how do we say it? How do our bodies move? How does our voice change? And I do that all the time. Like I have my little video, my webcam set up, and I will record myself saying my character's lines so that I can hear it back to myself. Like, how do I want it? How does that go again? And then I can figure out what I want the dialogue to look like versus just what is it saying. And sometimes also speaking the dialogue will surface, oh, that doesn't sound really well, or doesn't sound very good. Right? So you'll actually hear, oh, that's hard to say. I don't think my character would actually say that. But overall, like for the most part, I've had to find stuff to nitpick. You did really great with this one. Just like before, I have all of this on the side here for you so that you can review this feedback separately. So
Yeah, thank you very much, honestly.
yep. Any other questions?
No, nothing to comments.
Yeah,
Thank you.
overall, you did great. It's a lot of work to do 4 pages. So, and like I said, you only did the sketches, so it's kind of hard to judge everything when everything's only sketches, but good work. All right, next. Hello, who's next? I'm going to grab a drink of water really quick.
Yeah. So I think next up is Kaylin. Yeah, Kaylin's in here.
Yeah.
Hello, Kaylin.
Hello.
Hello, sorry, I was grabbing a drink of water. I'm so sorry. My voice is getting all a little dry because I'm getting a little excited. Having fun, talking a lot. So, okay. All right, now that I've had some water. All right, cool. All right, I actually was gonna talk about the H thing in this one. So, this story is adorable. I love tricksters, and so when I read this one, I thought, dang, this feels like something that my character would do. It's a lot of fun reading this story. Where did you get the idea for it? Is it like part of a larger story? Because I feel like there's a history with these guys.
So I originally was gonna have it in a longer one shot, but because I had writer's block on that one shot, so I decided to just go with this shorter story because I really like the design of this little creature I drew.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That was a fantastic idea. I did the same thing with Onami. That's why I chose Onami for the one-shot program, is I would love to do a longer story about Pon. In fact, Pon is one of the characters in Godsbane. Like basically Onami takes place like 1500 to 2000 years before Godsbane. And so like, but I really love to have a whole separate manga just for Pon. And so I'm like, well, let me just do the one shot and let me do that and see, maybe I can figure out how I want the character lore to be. So that's a really good solution when you're kind of stuck and struggling. So, but good work making like a concise story that fits into 4 pages. Like that's one thing that where yours is really strong, is it feels really good for just 4 pages. So you did really great there. So and yep, these are just sketches, so we're not gonna like worry too much about that. I didn't really have a lot of notes for yours because like I said, for the most part it flowed really well. I think the biggest issue is just finishing it, and then looking at things like your gutters and stuff, like the small nitpicky stuff. The biggest thing here with the lettering is the same thing as before. It's not squared up, but I think that's because this is still a sketch stage. So you just kind of like just put it in. Is that correct? You just kind of like quickly put the text in?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
It was a last minute.
Right, yeah. For sure. So just make sure it's center justified, not like left side justified. And that's so that it's like even. Something like this also I would adjust which lines go on, like which text goes on which line. So for example, we wouldn't have you up here, it would be like down, it'd be right next to you something, and then magnificent, and then today would actually be on this lower line. And the did you see the Blambot link that I sent earlier?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that website, the lettering tips, has this specific topic on there. The lettering tips has a whole bunch of like free lessons and how to properly fit your bubble or your text into the bubble, as far as how you want to center it, what type of spacing should it have, all of that's included there. So I would definitely use that resource for this. Do you typically type out your lettering, or do you usually handwrite it? Because I know some people that draw traditionally, they hand letter everything.
I kind of do both. I had a more a rough draft before this one that I wrote on, but because I planned on just using this one, to send in, I decide to just have this with the speech bubbles.
Okay, yeah, no worries. If you want to learn traditional and hand lettering on paper, you're gonna want this device. It's called an AIM scale. I don't know how to pronounce it. I've heard both of them. Basically what it is it's a fun little device. It kind of looks like this. And it has, like little lines in it and some dots and stuff. Basically what it is it allows you to make the spacing for for your text, where then you just like write in the middle. It allows you to set that up and be consistent with it. My teacher, his name is Gary Barker. He's been drawing Garfield for like 30 something years. He learned hand lettering with this tool, and he taught it to me when I was in college, when he was my professor. He was basically sort of like my homeroom, if you want to call it that, in college, and he taught me how to use this scale. And it's pretty easy to learn.
I actually have one of those.
Oh, that's what it's for.
Yeah, I was told to do everything digitally though for the
Yes, the reason is because it's a lot easier to edit once you start working with editors. But if you ever have a project where maybe you want to do that just for the fun of it, you can totally do those projects. I have a project where I'm doing hand lettering just for fun. It's a single page yonkoma, and I'm just doing it for fun because I want to learn the skill set. I actually don't remember how to use it anymore. I need to refresh myself on that. So I have this fun little yonkoma that I'm doing for myself, just a one pager to relearn those skill sets. And so if that's a tool you're interested in, maybe learn that skill set. It's a very rare skill set these days, and that could make you very valuable when looking for art jobs. Not a lot of people know how to do that anymore. So it could earn you some extra money if you know how to do that. If that's something you're interested in doing. Not everyone is. Let me change all the red to blue. I just realized that. There we go. I've been forgetting. I'm so sorry, Jim. I've been forgetting to do that. Please remind me again if I forget. I'm gonna make sure you can see everything. All right, cool. So this is great. He puts it up here on the table. It can be quite profitable for your shop. I know they're just sketches, but like use the shop and just fill it with stuff. Think like Howl's Moving Castle. There's just stuff everywhere. These types of people that collect weird and bizarre things, like they have everything in there, right? So like, think like Howl's Moving Castle is like the best way that I can think of it. Like his room and just like his living room is just full of stuff. In this case, you can use the background to tell us more about this person here. He collects things. He's old. He probably has a lot of weird stuff in there, right? That could be really interesting. And that would really, really, really add so much to this. It's a lot of work though. I would recommend it. Do you have Clip Studio?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I would definitely recommend making a sample room with Clip Studio. Or like find stuff that you're like legally allowed to use as far as maybe like 3D models online. It's called Turbo Squid, I think. They sell 3D models for people to use, and a lot of times you have to double check the file type. A lot of times you can open those files in Clip Studio. You can actually import that 3D model into Clip Studio. So like if drawing everything is too hard, I'm not sure how comfortable are you with perspective drawing, like using the vanishing points and the horizon line and everything. How comfortable are you with that?
I've actually been practicing doing that on my own time recently.
Okay, so what I would recommend then is draw this on a separate piece of paper and then digitally insert it into your manga. If you want to do this on paper, draw it, like figure out what you're what you're gonna need, and then draw it on a separate piece of paper. That way you're not trying to draw around your character. That's going to be really, really hard. If you combine them digitally, then you just have to erase what you don't need on its own. It'll be on its own layer. That might be a lot easier for you if you want to combine those two traditionally, unless you feel comfortable drawing around your character. Because of perspective and stuff, it can be a little hard sometimes because you got to like draw around the character like when you're inking and stuff. That might be a technique that would be helpful too. And then the big thing here is it feels like you have like a lot of space in your bubbles for the text. Text is pretty small. Again, I know you did it just last minute. But I would definitely consider that if you're ever sending in pitches and stuff. in the future, definitely watch your lettering text, because even when I have it like fit the sides of my screen, oopsie, it's a little hard to read, like some of the text. I had to zoom in pretty far to see some of it. And then the other thing here is you left out the bars so that we could see the creature, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I would for this particular panel, I would zoom in so that you're inside the bars to see the character. Because my thought was that why aren't there any bars there? Like, do they just trust that it'll stay in there? That was a little confusing to me. So I would, and it also kind of like ruins this effect here of it leaning against the bars, trying to reach something. So if you want to, yeah. So, and I know it kind of sucks because you're having to like cover up this beautiful character. But I would definitely be a little bit more thoughtful about when you decide to not draw the bars. This one I would just try to zoom in a bit more. Because we don't want, yeah, I know you want to show off the character, but logistically it kind of works it a little bit as far as like the logic goes. This is cute though. I love the little paw like reaching for it. That's so cute. But and then I think some of this here is just adjusting some of the like the squaring up of the lettering. That'll be stuff that you fix digitally. Definitely use the link that the lettering tips, and that'll help a lot. This is cute. There's also no sound effects in here. Do you?
Yeah, I didn't know how to really do those.
Okay. I would definitely then suggest the lettering, not the lettering tips, the Jaded Network that I sent you earlier. Because what's really good about it is like if you know what's like the sniff, like he's like it looks like he's like sniffing for something, like look up sniff and the Jaded Network and see if there's something there for you. If not, Google can be a really good resource for you, you know, where you can look like maybe Google like sniff manga pen. Be careful there. You don't know what's gonna pop up. So think about how you want to search that. It is Google after all, right? So like think about, so I would just try to use the internet is there, right? Try to use it as your resource, or like go to other like manga creators, like, hey, like I'm looking this up, how, like, where can I find it? I'm sure there is something out there that can be a valuable resource for you. So yeah, I would definitely don't hesitate to do sound effects. When I send in my sketches to Hisashi-san, I always include the sound effect. That way he can let me know if I'm including the right ones. Or sometimes he offers me a suggestion of, I would maybe do this instead of that. But because you didn't do that, I can't suggest them to you, because you didn't add them in. I mean, I could, but I don't, you know, like I don't want to do that for everything. This is cute though. He just pulls like a chameleon move, and he's just like, you know, like maybe lamb could be a fun one. You know, he just like the tongue goes out here. That's really funny. He like grabs it. Da, 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 da. What are you doing? Let go already. This is really cute. I love this. And then this I recommend Smash. What's really fun about lettering sometimes is you can use I like to draw lines like this, and here I'll show you actually how I'm doing it. I'm centering it on the smashed action here, and I'm putting in the letters so that they follow kind of a pattern, so that way it feels more curved. It's not perfect, but you get the idea of what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And then, you know, maybe like a little, you know, here's, you know, the thing that's broken. So when it comes to lettering, that can be really helpful too. You know, maybe this might be like a yank, or maybe it like growls like get it back. Yeah, I don't want to be exactly. So, but yeah, for the most part, the big thing here is just your text. And then finalizing stuff. Watch your margins here. You know, like that kind of lines up. This kind of lines up right here. And then for your bubbles, the big thing I noticed is that your tails don't have to be so thick. You can have them be really small, and try to keep them like here's an example. Because this one here is going towards his mouth up here, you can just put it right here. This one here, same thing. You don't have to do these super big tails. In manga, we actually tend to see smaller tails. So I would pick up your favorite manga, whichever one is your favorite, and then I would look at the tails and see how the tails are actually done. If you don't like how they do it, maybe start looking through some other manga to see hey, like, how does this mangaka do it? So that I can start doing that. My favorite manga, which is Yu Yu Hakusho, Togashi Sensei does these weird sort of like double tails sometimes where he'll do like this. And I really like that. I don't see anyone else doing that. And so that's a habit that I've picked up as well, where I kind of have these weird double tails. And Hisashi-san was like, oh, Togashi Sensei does that. I'm like, yeah, I know. So, all right, cool. But the story is cute. The story is adorable. I think the biggest thing is just finishing these. These look like homes, not like a shop, like a downtown street, which is kind of where I would envision this type of place to be. So I would maybe do a little bit more thought on like, where is this place? Is this someone's home? Is this like a street somewhere? Like, where is this shop? Or where is this person that he's going? And then think about what that would look like on the outside, because you'll need that for this particular panel. And then your gutters as well. Gutters don't really have a name in manga. The waksen, which is the line that makes the panels, is the only thing that has a name. And the vertical gutters tend to be thinner than the horizontal gutters. And that's because it's done to sort of like group panels together. So typically, so for yours, you did a great job keeping them consistent as far as like the width. Unfortunately, that's not a thing in manga. That's a thing in Western comics. Now, that is your choice. You can choose to do that if you wish, but that's not very typical in manga. They typically intentionally separate them as far as like how they're separated, like the thickness of the gutters. Pick up almost any manga and you're going to notice that. I think there's very, very few mangaka who don't do that. I think that it's typically more of like Garo or Torch, those types of magazines where it's a little more whatever the heck you want. Those are like alternative manga magazines. Garo is famous for being a Gekiga magazine, and then Torch isn't Gekiga, but it's more just whatever. It's alternative manga. Like indie manga, if you will. Like just like how we have Image and Dark Horse and Mad Cave, same concept, but for manga. A quick question if we have time later. Oh yeah, that'll be for the Q&A. I just answer it though. I use a Wacom 16, not the Pro, just a Wacom 16. I used to have a 13. And when I was in college, I used the 22. The 22 was too big for me. It's just too heavy. The 16 is perfect for me. As far as like being at home for travel though, I use a Samsung Galaxy Tab and I think it's 12 inches and it works great for me. So I tend to kind of stick between that. All right, cool. But yeah, this is great. This is cute. This is adorable. Can't wait to see it finished if you decide to finish it. I think it's adorable. I love the sort of like at the very last page where it's like, he did good distracting him. Great punchline. Really good. Great job. Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Yeah, great work.
Thank you.
Yep. And again, just like everyone else, I have all of the text here going over everything I just talked about. So you'll be able to either watch this back and you'll be able to see the notes on your own when we send you the documents. All right. And I think we have one more left.
Yeah, last one. Yeah.
Yep. The good news is this one also did this creator also did a pretty good job. Not a lot to nitpick on. Isaac, you here? Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. You had a really cute one, which I can absolutely relate to as the eldest sister of 3 younger brothers. Relatable. That's what I kept thinking about while I was going through this one. Is I'm like, yo, this girl is such a mood. So the style is super simple. It's very chibi-esque. Is that intentional? Or is it just like it's a sketch?
It was a sketch, but
I like the style.
I can never seem to make my character's head small.
I like it though. I think it's really cute though. Like, I feel like when it comes to style, if that's something you enjoy, lean into that. Make that like your thing, right? Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I feel like there's a big thing in manga where people are like, like it has to look a certain way for it to feel like manga. And I feel like part of that's because like a lot of the world outside Japan gets a really, maybe with the exception of like maybe some Southeast Asian countries, get like a very limited amount of manga as far as like variety, right? Like we mostly get like the shonen and maybe some seinen, and it's like it's got a specific look to it, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
oopsie, I have a link for you guys, and I want everyone to watch this video if possible. This is my, and I wanted to share this specifically when it came to like your feedback. This is my favorite video on the internet about manga, and it's called Alternative Paths to Manga. And in this video, we have two manga creators, two mangaka from Torch magazine, which I was just talking about, and that was foreshadowing. And it talks about like what manga can be, because we tend to think of Shonen Jump as like it's Shonen Jump, it's the end all be all. That's what everyone is aiming for. Not necessarily. This features two, like one of my favorite alternative manga called Comic Girl. My brain is derping on the first part of it there. So Zai's on a Comic Girl. So like, which is a watercolor manga that's really heavily focused on cinematography style paneling, which aligns it more towards Gekiga than manga. And if you guys don't know what Gekiga is, sorry, I'll promise I'll get to this in a minute. Gekiga is like, manga is meant to be optimistic and whimsical and a little too idealist. Like life is a little too perfect. It works out a little too perfectly sometimes. Gekiga said, "Not F that." What would life be like, or what would manga be like if this was like, realistic? If it were more based on reality, how does life really go? That's Gekiga. A good example of Gekiga that most of you guys know is Vagabond, Monster. Those are Gekiga. It's more based on the realities of life, the hardness of life, the harshness of life. And that's some of the stuff that this video talks about is what is the actual possibilities for manga? A lot of people will say, oh, manga is just comics in Japanese. Well, there's a lot of different words for comics, just like we have in English. Giga, Gekiga, manga, like there's so many different types of manga and comics out there. Komiksu, amekomi, there's so many different types of comics in Japanese, just like there are in English. And so I really hate that people are like, manga is just comics in Japanese. And that tells me that you don't know anything about manga when people say that. Yep. I cannot say the French word for it. Do not ask me to say it. I will butcher the pronunciation. Like band dessine, something like that. I don't know how to pronounce that word. I'm so embarrassed that I can't pronounce it. When you get, know what I mean? Hang on, I gotta cough really quick. Sorry, guys. I don't want to cough in your ears. That's how you know I'm getting excited. I start choking on air. All right, let's go. Let's see, I must be an underwater mermaid because I can't breathe in the air. So let's get started. Sorry, I rambled long enough. But yeah, my point was, all of that to say, if you like the style that you're working in and it ends up a little more simplified and chibi-esque and kind of cutesy, the heads are a little large, if that's what you love, man, lean into it. Embrace it. Make that your specialty. I hate drawing characters. And one of my strengths is I'm really good at drawing props and backgrounds. And so I lean into that. I'm like, I have this beautiful world that I've developed. And so like I show it off. I don't hide that. I show it off. And now the downside is that my characters are too simple compared to my backgrounds. I gotta balance that a bit more. But did you have a question?
No questions.
Okay. All right, let's get started then. What is that noisy creature? I would bold this, maybe. Bold it. Like, same thing as before. Think about how people say it, not just what's being said. He's your little brother. And I like how they're kind of like off screen here. And then here, we've got Mama here. I don't want a little brother. He smells bad. Typical baby thing. But same thing here. There's two different thoughts here. So we probably should have two different bubbles. And why is his tail all funny? Came from us to us. So, okay, here's the squarish thing. So I might do this as he came to us from the surface world. So I would space it out like this because, again, we're trying to keep it as squarish as possible. And again, the lettering tips link that I sent goes over that type of stuff. It's not, and one thing that I also did notice is a lot of you guys did highly vertical bubbles. Can I ask why? A lot of you guys did that. And I'm trying to is it the aesthetic of like the vertical bubbles?
I mean, for me, it is.
So, do you know why they have vertical bubbles in Japanese and why they have them in English?
Well, the vertical bubbles in Japanese are because the writing goes up and down.
Yep. And so typically when the letterer for the English manga is putting in the lettering, they don't change the bubble. Because these are English first, what we could call them as original English language manga for my older manga fans out there. Typically you would consider like be more mindful of that, because while I understand that it fits the aesthetic more of what we think of manga, it looks really weird to only have one word per line. That just looks really strange. So like what you could do is have this and then you can fit 2 or 3 words per and it'll still look like manga. Like you don't have to have the super tall bubbles to make it look like manga. If it hinders your manga more than it, because now you have to have these really tall bubbles because you're only fitting 1 or 2 words per line. Like you're creating a problem that doesn't need a solution. Like, or you're creating a problem when you don't need to. You know what I mean? And like I wouldn't do the things just for aesthetic reasons. Something else that you did, why did you put it, like it's the same thing with you putting in Japanese sound effects, like shing. Like there's no reason for that. If your audience was Japanese, then I would understand it, but if some people may not know what sheen is. I know what sheen is, but like people, like, do you guys know what sheen is? If you meant Gene, by the way, you need this. Could be Gene or Sheen, technically. So, and typically for the sound also, you would use hiragana, by the way, because it's silence. It's meant to be quiet. You don't have harsh silence typically. I mean, you can, but like, so you got to keep that kind of stuff in mind. So because you didn't know that, you did it wrong. And to someone who knows, it looks really bad. So like I would keep that in mind. Now what I might recommend, I'm doing this for mine. When I'm making my manga, I do both. I draw both the Japanese and English sound effect at the same time on separate layers because I am working on translating mine into Japanese. So I'm planning my sound effects in both languages while I draw it, but I only post one that's Japanese only and English only. So there's no point in adding Japanese for an English speaking audience. There's no point. And it does look cool. Like it's like, oh, it's manga. It's got the Japanese aesthetic. Ooh, but like, this feels weird. This is adorable. This makes me think of Fern from Free Ren. I love that face. Like that face is like quintessentially Fern for me now. Really cute, really well done. I love it. It's so adorable. Do you want to help me name him? I as soon as I saw this, I went, this is gonna go bad. I love it. Like really, really cute. The only thing is his bubble vanished in this panel. Like he had
No,
no
it's
bubble.
still there.
Is it?
It's still there.
Oh, I thought it was his head. Oh, okay.
No, his
I
head's
see.
inside. You can see his little ear.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Okay. That's me then. Okay, that's on me. Okay, I wasn't sure. I'm
No,
like,
I wouldn't have been surprised.
because I thought this was like his hairline here. Like I thought this was his hair. So like I thought his bubble was missing. Okay, cool. I get it. My bad. Thank you for correcting me. Sometimes I'm glad I was wrong in that case because that meant that you actually did the thing. This is cool though. I love this. Like I love the idea that you have this here. I would bring this down though. Don't let this impact it because what happens is or what could happen for the reader, not necessarily. They could see this and go whoop, and then completely miss this one. So I wouldn't put that in there. I would just, have this, be whatever. If you want her, like, her crown to show, just shrink it a little bit. I know that's not ideal, but that's what I would recommend if you want to be able to show her crown and stuff. And also here, I'm not sure, this is also sort of like a timing thing. We're going to go across and then go down. This creates a pause here. If you want to keep that pause, keep this bubble where it is. If you don't want to have that super long pause here, put the bubble up here. And that way, because the reason why I'm recommending that is because this here has two thoughts in it. How lovely. Is it from the old language? My recommendation, because you could either have like a bubble here and then a bubble here. How lovely. Oh, they can't read that. Oh, need to use blue. Sorry. Blue. Sorry, I gotta change it here. Okay, now it's blue. Okay, so you could do how and then like lovely. And then, is it from the old language? Or you can have Avon, and then how lovely. You could have that here too. All depends on what kind of pause you want. If you want it. If you want there to be a pause and have this here, so it's kind of like she's still thinking, then have how lovely here, but just have it as a separate bubble, right? Or if you're okay with this being here, that way we hear Avon, and then the immediate response from mom. So either option could work, but I would pick one of them as my suggestion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. And then it means driftwood. I love this girl so much. I see. Hey, big sis. And then so this is kind of in the future, right? So what I would recommend, super easy to do. Separate these a little bit. Show that there's time that has passed. So you can actually have sort of like empty bubbles. Let's see. Ooh. You can have like empty bubbles and stuff to sort of show that there's a passage of time. You can fill them in with black if you want to, up to you. You can also use a gradient. So have it like, light here, maybe dark here, but I would separate them. And when you do that in manga, that shows that there's a passage of time. Otherwise, I'm like, wait, why suddenly is he saying, hey, sis? Is he some super smart child that suddenly speaks well? Like, what happened? There was no cue that there was a passage of time. Something else that you can do is you can widen the gap between the panels to something kind of abnormally large. Because that's what the gutter does. Believe it or not, that's what that gutter does, is it shows passage of time. That's how they think about their gutters. That's why you have larger gutters here, and then you have thinner ones here. Is it's passage of time. These are grouped together. This is one. This is one. This is a unit of time. And so the gap between these tends to be smaller than these because it's showing life in chunks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so by increasing the gap here, you're showing larger passages of time. So that would be my suggestion. And then I would move this like somewhere down here. Whoop. Forgot to select the. Sorry, my cat is like pawing at my leg and it's driving me crazy. If I feel a little distracted, she's like, Mom, Mom. She's like Stewie. Mom, Mama, Mom. Okay, cool. So then I would just do this. And then if you want to, maybe have like little bubbles here. I mean, we are underwater after all. Like bubbles. If you need advice on how to draw underwater scenes, did I? Yeah.
I will take any advice you have on that.
Children of the Whales. Hardcore. Look at Children of the Whales. It is mostly underwater. And so it would be a fantastic guide for you as far as like having examples. I think there's another one called Ride Your Wave. Which I'm not sure. I've only read some of it, and I don't quite waves. Ride Your Wave. It's like a surfing manga. So I would definitely like look at both of those for like examples on like having underwater scenes. For like how you want to approach the shading or bubbles. I used it a lot when I was making Onami as reference, and it was infinitely helpful. All right, we're almost there, guys. Almost there. Sorry. No, we're a little over. So she's wait for me. I love how she calls him a barnacle. SpongeBob coded, I love it. And so he like holds on to her. And so I would move this here. The reason is we want to have more space here. Push him up so that there's room for this bubble, right? So I kind of like drew it on top for you. Maybe have the bubble here. And then push him up a little bit more. Add some like bubbles and stuff, just to show that there's movement, because underwater we associate a lot of bubbles with movement. Because there's movement, there's like air underwater all the time, right? So like, but I would definitely, especially with like his little pocket of air, there's gonna be bubbles and stuff. So I would definitely look at, again, Children of the Whales is a perfect example. It'll show you exactly what I mean. And then here it looks like he's sitting. What is he sitting on? The sea floor or the ocean floor, or like what's the background here? There's no context for where they are in this whole sequence here. I don't know where they are.
They were meant to be in like an underwater palace, but yeah, I can see that it's not very clear.
Yeah, so maybe add some background here, add some more background here. Normally we would have something called an establishing shot to provide that context, but because you only have basically 2 pages to show where they are, add it in as you can to the background, to help with that context, especially here. That could be really helpful. So I would just try to figure, like, here you added a little bit of it. So I knew they were in some kind of structure. I just didn't know what it was. And then as far as the lettering goes, really try to avoid putting bubbles on top of panel borders or on top of the gutters, because it makes it hard to know where it belongs. Some people try to do it for like transitionary things. That's not that helpful. Because it kind of can ruin, like, I think this is the order that we wanted for this, is this here. But the purpose of having this gutter here is to separate moments of time. And when you break the rule too much of having too many bubbles on top of the gutter, it kind of, it's the same thing as adding like a little cilantro versus just dumping the whole bunch into a salad. It's just, I mean, I love cilantro, but not that much, right? Garnish it. Treat it as something you do occasionally, only when you have to. Because you've got the room for it. You just move the bubble and you've got the room for the, you're really pretty. Like you could probably scoot this over a little bit and then you'd have the room for it. So there's really no reason to do that. I mean, you do it here too. There's zero reason for that. And it's distracting, frankly. And then the other thing, when you do your margins, try not to have text on the gutter side of the manga. When you have your margins that I showed you here earlier, so if this, I was like, what layer am I on? Typically your panels are gonna stop. This is the Hanmen, remember? You don't want any text sitting outside here. Because if this is your, we call it a nodal, which is nodal as in nodal. Let's see. I don't know, my pen's acting like that. I jokingly call it the no-do, but it's the nodal. We call it the throat. It's the spine area of the manga. Anything that's in here, so like here, let's say here's the other Hanmen area. Anything in this area right here could possibly get cut off once it's printed, right? And so you don't want to put any text along this area. And so when you put this text here, you risk that possibly being cut off or too hard to read. Now, fun fact, pick up any manga volume you guys have. I'll show you how common this is. Pick up any manga volume you have, and you'll notice that, so here's the top. This is the top of the manga. you'll notice that in this area right here, there's more white space. That's because they don't print there, typically. That's the nodal, this right here, this is the nodal area of all of the pages. So you want to keep that in mind. So just so you guys can see that in practice. But this is adorable. I think the manga is great. I think it's more, you just need to add some more, and again, it's unfinished on purpose, right? Because like you only had a few days to do 4 pages. So as you're refining this, think more about like, what does your value and your contrast look like? Especially because you have an underwater atmosphere. It's a little tricky. You can choose to leave it all white, but if you want to add some good like negative space, some positive space, utilizing shape language, meaning like what's shaded, what's left white, that'll be really valuable to you. The characters are freaking adorable. I love your style. If you love it too, lean into it. Don't be ashamed of that. Same thing here. Like these are the different types of sound effects. Don't expect your reader to know those things. If you have a reader who only knew English, they're not going to know what this means, and you've confused a reader. They're going to have to stop, look it up, and then go back to reading, and that creates a real barrier to them being a reader for you. So don't do that. And then the lettering was a little small. Oh, sorry, lettering was just a little small. If it were to be like on a phone, I'd have to like zoom in. But overall, your gutters were done well. Your spacing was done well. Like the flow is generally super easy to understand. Keep your tails a little more consistent. But I saw someone ask about connecting bubbles. No, we do not do that in manga. That's more of a Western comic thing. I don't really see it a lot in manga. It can be done. I have seen it, but it's very uncommon. Typically, they'll just close the bubble off. And then in this case, because Mama is the one speaking, you can just leave this with no tail or nothing, and because of the context, we'll understand that it's still Mama. Or if you want to, you can put her like a little picture of her face here. I do that sometimes if I want, there might be some confusion. But yeah, that'd be my recommendation. Do you have any questions for me? I know we're kind of like we went a little over. Sorry, Trisha. Any questions for me? Because I want to make sure you guys leave with your questions answered.
No.
No? All right, cool. Awesome. Like I said, I'll make sure you guys get all this stuff for like the feedback. So I want to make sure you guys have access to this. Did anyone else have any questions about Isaac's work before we go into Q&A? No?
No.
Awesome.
So yeah, I think we're pretty much all good here, Jackson. Thank you so much. I think that's the last submission that we'll be reviewing today. That's all the time we have for reviews today, you guys. But yeah, make sure to stick in. If you have any more questions for Jackson, specifically about their process or whatever, then make sure to stay until the end for the Q&A. But before that, okay, you guys, so if you want more help, if you want more guidance, professional guidance from actual pro Japanese mangaka mentors, then I definitely invite you to join our online one-shot manga drawing program. So our goal in the program is to empower more aspiring manga artists like you. So if you want to properly learn how to make manga, get professional mentorship and guidance directly from pro mangakas, then this program is for you. So this is for you if you're at least 18 years old and comfortable with writing and speaking English. You're a beginner who wants to learn how to draw manga and start telling your own stories. You have a passion for manga and dream of getting published or winning contests with your manga, and you're seeking confidence in a supportive community to share your art and grow as a manga artist. Okay, so you can check out the program at learntodrawmanga.com. The link is in the description of this live. So if you want to learn more about what you're be learning in the program, exactly who the mentors are, or even check out some of the testimonials from our students, then you can go ahead and check out our website. Now, if you feel like this program is for you, then I definitely also encourage you to book a free consultation call with us. The link is also in the description. You can check that out. And if you wanna, I don't know, do a bit more research, again, you can always check out the website, and you can also apply through the website as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to be opening the floor to any questions that you guys might have for Jackson, any questions from the Zoom, and any questions from the YouTube channel. Now's the time to ask, you guys. All right. Um, Jackson, we had a question from A25. What's the best way to send traditionally made manga to editors? Like, do they even accept traditional manga?
Yeah, they actually do. So one of the things that like Shueisha, as like an example offers, they do allow you to send in stuff to like for like their contests and such. And I think there are some other contests like the Japan Society, the Magic International. They do allow traditional submissions. However, I think most of them will tell you to send copies. And they'll also have you set up like tracing paper on top of it, and you have to do it a very specific way. A lot of them will have guides on how you need to do that. Never ever send in originals because you will most likely not get them back. So always send in copies. A lot of time, like my recommendation is to send them with something tough or hard so that they won't get bent and mauled. Especially if they're going to like Japan or something and you're maybe like from not Japan. Like if you're outside of Japan and you're sending it to a Japanese competition, for example, you're gonna need to like protect that as best you can. If you can, try to go in person. For example, Shueisha, their editorial office does in-person reviews in Japanese, mind you. Like if you can bring in someone who speaks Japanese to help you, but you can set up appointments to just walk in and talk to them in advance, which is so cool. If you're going to like a portfolio review, like for example, San Diego Comic-Con, Anime Expo, Anime NYC, VIZ does reviews there in person. So just make sure you have your work protected. My recommendation would be to have it in like a hard case portfolio. That way it doesn't get bent while it's like in your bag or something. But yeah, always send in copies, never send in the originals. In fact, a lot of the like contests or submission guidelines for those type of things will tell you, we will not send them back to you. Do not give us originals. Next, I hope that was helpful.
Yeah. We have another question from Frank in the Zoom chat. When drawing layouts, how do you decide your paneling to make the flow more exciting?
So there's two different, for me, it kind of helps to consider like, is the moment that I'm drawing, do I want it to go fast or do I want it to go slow? There's two types of manga like panel layouts as far as how many panels there are. Dense pages are just like they sound. They have a lot of panels on a page, typically like 4 or more. And then you also have rough pages, which have less panels, so maybe like only like 1 to 4. The larger a panel is, the longer it's going to take the eye to travel through that panel. And so it acts as a slow-mo, right? So it's like the wind up before Saitama makes his punch. It's like, oh, the big panel. Or My Hero Academia does this a lot too, where you see like the wind up before someone unleashes a punch or an attack. It's sort of stopping time, right? Or it's having you linger on a moment. And then you have a bunch of maybe like quick succession panels together. Dragon Ball is a really good example with all of the fights, especially the tournament arcs. You'll see like a large mixture of pages where there's fewer panels and they're larger to purposely slow the moment down or like account for an impact. But if there's a lot of quicker actions, the panels tend to be smaller because they're smaller units of time. So think of a panel as a unit of time. The larger the panel, the longer it takes the eye to go through it. The smaller the panel, the quicker the eye travels through it. So it creates the illusion of a shorter period of time. So I try to think about that when I'm doing my paneling. But also like, do I need a landscape panel? Do I need to have, like, do I need it to be long and horizontal? Can I do it vertically? I always try to consider that kind of stuff when I'm doing my paneling. Also I use Yondan Gumi, which is a 2x4 grid. A lot of modern manga uses a 2x3 grid, and when I say that, I mean modern manga uses 2 wide by 3 tall. I use the 2 wide by 4 tall, which is an older method. Rumiko Takahashi, like Inuyasha, Ranma, Urusei Yatsura, she tends to still use the 2x4. And then there's like yonkoma, which is typically like either just 1x4 or 2x4. Western comics tends to use then 3x3, which is like 9 panels on a page. So thinking about what type of grid format you want to use is also pretty important, because it'll tell you what is your maximum number of panels on a page. That way you don't add too many and make it overwhelming. Hope that helped. That was a lot of information.
Yeah. I think we have something related to like getting your manga out there. Kostunen asks, like, is participating in a Comic-Con event for manga a good way to get noticed? I think he means like a portfolio review, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think the thing is like, what are you trying to get out of it? Are you wanting to get picked up? Are you wanting to get feedback? Some conventions, you have to register for portfolio reviews in advance. So for example, Anime NYC, Anime Expo, VIZ, for example, tends to have sign up in advance. The last 2 years, San Diego has been a free-for-all. So like, it's first come, first serve getting those slots. And I was really lucky in 2023. I was the first person there to sign up for my slot, and so I grabbed the spot. And you guys know the rest. But like, so definitely pay attention to the publishers. Try to make sure you follow the publishers on social media. Go check their websites a couple months in advance of the convention, to see like, hey, like, is there a specific set of instructions? But if you want to go, like, the other option is if they don't have portfolio reviews, typically it's not a good idea to like walk around the con, going to people's tables or booths and wanting to show your work to them. That can be hit or miss, because those people are typically there to sell stuff. And if you're there asking for feedback, some creators, like I personally wouldn't mind. I can't say I'm friends with Felipe Smith. I'd say I'm like acquaintances. We've met quite a few times. And Felipe Smith did People Chol and a couple others with Kodansha. He actually had a Japanese first release, and so like he's a big inspiration for me, right? And so like when I went to his booth the last time, you know, he was really busy, and I'm like, okay, this is not the proper time for me to ask for feedback. And so like I got his card and I sent him an email. I'm like, hey, can I get some feedback? You know, so like sometimes it's better to like ask the person, is it okay? And then if not, is there somewhere where I can send you stuff and get feedback? So that's another option, but just be really mindful that those creators are likely, like, that may be how they make their living, and you don't want to like hog up their time by asking for feedback. So just be considerate, be tactful with that. If you like want to have a table, that can be a good way to get noticed, but those can be really expensive to table at, because you don't just have the cost of the table, you have the cost of your merch, the cost of your hotel, the cost of your production of those things, the cost of your food while you're there. It adds up so fast. But I feel like going to cons is also really helpful because you get panels and you can learn a lot. I have learned like I got to go to the Makoto Yukimura panel last year at San Diego Comic-Con, and I learned so much. It was so amazing. So I think there's a lot of different reasons to go to conventions like Comic-Cons, or anime cons. I think it just depends what specifically you want to get out of it, and plan your itinerary, your schedule in advance to get the most of it.
Right. So I think we can entertain 2 more questions. I have one more from the YouTube chat. Yatska asks, I hope I'm saying that right. Can Jackson recommend a book on panel layout and manga? I guess something that they can refer to improve their paneling layouts. Yeah.
Yes, I have a couple actually. So the first one is actually not for manga. It's more for comics, but you can absolutely use it for manga too. It's called Framed Ink. And it's a series of 3 books. I cannot pronounce the man's name. I think he's French. He, I believe, has history in cinematography, but it's again, it's called Framed Ink, and it teaches you how to approach composition and panel layout, utilizing cinematography skill sets. And cinematography and manga share common ground in what's called visual narrative, which just means telling stories with pictures. And visual narrative is everything from magazines to animation to manga to comics to commercials. Like all of that is visual narrative. You're telling stories with images. And so you can learn a lot about it by studying animation and film as well. But Framed Ink is a series of 3 books. I absolutely recommend those. The other one, and this just came out, I highly, highly recommend this book. Even I am learning new things. Dr. Mashirito's Ultimate Manga Technique. techniques. It's the book that is by Akira Toriyama's former editor, I think it's Kazuhiro Torishima. Absolutely fantastic book. And I think it's like $17 on Amazon or something. There is a digital version of it. Highly, highly, highly recommend that book. It came out, I think, a week and a half ago. And I am loving this book. I highly recommend that book. It goes over the Torishima method, which is something I think everyone should learn. And then it also goes over everything from the manga business to how editors pick stuff that's going to get serialized, how they plan for the printing and the costs, the era, like how to do digital manga in the internet era. It's all of those things. So let me type out the names of these books. Framed Ink. And then we have Dr. Mashirito's Ultimate Manga Techniques. I spelled technique wrong. Of course I did. Wow, I can't spell it today. Mashirito's Manga Techniques. Those, and remember, the framed ink is a set of 3. I have read, just really quickly, I have read Manga in Theory and Practice. I personally do not like any of Araki's work. However, that said, I think his points are extremely valid because I love the way that he breaks writing a story down and planning your characters. It's a lot of the thought is very similar to Torishima's thoughts. There's a lot of overlap there. And so I definitely think that everyone should read that one. The other one that I would highly recommend is Shonen Jump's Guide to Making Manga. Jumo's Shonen Jump's Guide to Making Manga. Those 3 books are, and then Araki's, of course. Those 4 books are, I think, would be my recommended reading. It's a lot of reading. A lot of those books are pretty thick. But the reason why I like Shonen Jump Guide to Making Manga is it's not just for Shonen Jump people. I feel like I have zero interest in getting into Shonen Jump. I don't even like making shonen. However, I'm more of a seinen josei type person.
Yeah.
But what's really great about it is it focuses on the mental aspect of making manga as well, and the hardships that you have to go through, the mental process, how you pick the story that you want to write about. It covers all of that as well. So I feel like it's a really thorough book for the what it takes to be a mangaka on a mental level. It's not just a book of like how to draw techniques. It's way more than that. So yeah, those would be my suggestions for recommended reading.
All right. So last question, I think we have from YouTube. All right. And I think this is an interesting question. VPick Fiction asks, how many portfolios do you have ready? And like, should you have like more than one ready? Especially if you're like showing your portfolio to editors, like what would be your recommendation for like prepping portfolios?
Okay, so I'm gonna preface this with do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't have a portfolio, like a general portfolio. Like if someone asked me to show them a general portfolio, I don't have anything to show them.
Yeah.
Because I personally am not looking for work right now. The rule of thumb is you should be updating your portfolio regularly. However, I am not interested in working with a writer. I am not interested in working with another publisher. My full-time day job, disclaimer, I have a full-time normie day job, if you want to call it that. My muggle job, whatever you want to call it. I have a day job, right? Just like everyone else. And then I make manga for the VIZ one-shot program with Hisashi-san in my free time. And then I also have my Godsbane that I make in my free time. So that takes up the entirety of my time. I don't have any time to join any other projects. And so I don't have an active portfolio because there's no reason for me to have one right now. I should have one because that's the proper thing to do. If you are actively looking for work, you should have a general portfolio. And then if you have a specialty, like let's say that maybe you're an inker or maybe you're an assistant and like you want to do backgrounds, right? I would try to have a portfolio for each of those specialties that you're trying to get hired in. Always have a generalist one that kind of shows all of the variety of skill sets that you have. and then have portfolios that show your specialties as well, with a little dash of the general stuff, right? That's what I was taught in art school, to have sort of like a couple different portfolios, but also consider that when you're pitching to publishers, every publisher is going to have different requirements. So for example, when I was creating my pitch for Godsbane to send to VIZ, they had different requirements than Dark Horse did. And they had different requirements than Mad Cave. Mad Cave has a new manga imprint called Nakama Press. They have completely different requirements. And so a lot of times, like, let's say I wanted to pitch Godsbane to each of those places. That's 3 different pitch portfolios that I have to make. You don't just make one and then send it to everyone, because every publisher is going to have different requirements. And so you'll need to cater that to each individual publisher, as far as like pitches go. For portfolios and stuff, it kind of depends. I mean, are you wanting to just get hired for anything? Are you wanting to be an inker? Are you wanting to be a letterer? If I were to make a lettering portfolio, I would have a portfolio dedicated just to lettering, showing I can do manga lettering and can do Western comic lettering. I can do sound effects. I'd have a section for each of those things, and then I'd have sample sequentials at the end. If you're wanting to get hired in manga or comics specifically, you have to show sequential pages to show that you can do things for like a long period of time, right? But you don't want your portfolio to be too long either. Like, I've heard that like 8 to 12 pages is generally the most that you need. 12 is kind of pushing it, right? So just kind of keep that stuff in mind. Pitches are a little different. My pitch to VIZ for Godsbane was like 18 pages. And that was without including the sequential pages, because I had a lot of characters to show. I showed them how I use Kishoten kits combined with the hero's journey. And then I had like 40 chapters that I had to have like summaries for. So like that added up, right? Yeah. Cloister, the sound effects, I sent a link earlier for the better tips. To summarize, Blambot is how I letter. I would read the Blambot stuff. That would be my recommendation. I've got a link right here. I basically follow Nate Pecos's guides. And that's how I handle lettering. Sarah, I think her Sarah Lindsley. I'm gonna spell her name wrong. I'm sorry, Sarah, if you're watching this. Please forgive me. She's a former letterer from VIZ. She doesn't do lettering for them anymore. Follow VIZ letterers. If you need help with lettering, go find the people that letter your manga and go follow them on social media. One of my friends I'm originally from Colorado. He letters One Punch Man. He lettered Dorohedoro. He got offered to letter Pokemon and he said no because he was too busy. And so like I've learned a lot of lettering from him because I just happened to meet him in person at like a get together for comics. And I was like, oh my gosh, you letter One Punch Man? And like we were best friends after that. So like go find the people that do the thing that you want to do and follow them. And like a lot of them are super friendly. A lot of the VIZ letterers are super friendly and I can ask them questions and stuff. That's what's been really helpful for me. Sorry,
So
I kind of added that last question. Sorry.
Yeah. I think that's it for questions. Now I think we can just move on to your final thoughts then, Jackson.
Yeah.
You before. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So final thoughts, things that were kind of done well overall. There was a lot of effort put in. Like it is so hard to do 4 pages really quickly. There was a lot of really good work put into the character design and the expressions, and like the presentation as far as like how things were set up. So like overall you guys did really great with that. So like thank you for taking the time to clean your work up, add like the digital text, made everything really easy to read. So thank you for that. And overall, it seemed like all of you had a really clear vision for what story you wanted to tell. And that is half the battle. Knowing what do you want to tell? What story do I want to say? What story do I want to talk about? And the other half is learning how to express that efficiently and interesting. So like, how can I express this the easiest way possible with the least number of pages? Because ultimately we have page limitations when we're making chapters, right? At least if you're working with a publisher, if that is your goal, you're going to have to think about those limitations. And also when you're wanting to pitch to a publisher, they may only allow you a certain number of books. When you pitch to Western publishers, they typically only allow you 3 to 6 issues. VIZ wanted me to keep my submission between 3 to 4 volumes. That's it. That's all I got. If it were to do well, then they might add more. So I had to make my story fit within a very limited amount of space. So I have to be very efficient with how I tell stories. And you guys did that really well. There weren't really any of them that I felt, oh, this needs more panels. For the most part, you guys did a really great job telling a concise story only in 4 pages, which is really difficult to do. So great job, guys. The overall weaknesses that I saw were a lot of people didn't even try to add backgrounds. And I know that they're difficult and they're intimidating. And it takes a lot of perspective knowledge, and I'll be, oh, well, it's just the sketch. It's just the sketch. I don't care. Like, plan your backgrounds, because you have to plan the busyness of it. You have to plan your shading. You have to think about your lettering. Like, does everything work as a cohesive whole? It's not a good idea to only draw the character and then not draw the background, because what if your background ends up not fitting with your character? Like, you should plan them together. Lettering, character, background, plan all, even if it's just a scribble, like at least have a rough idea of what you want. And try, if you want to get better at them, try drawing backgrounds or environments. I prefer the term environment. Try to draw them without any characters in them. If you can make an interesting environment, you can draw fantastic backgrounds. And then lettering historically was pretty weak. It's the last skill set that a lot of people learn, because it's seen as not sexy, it's not fun. Oh, I have to learn how to use text. This is so much fun. Fun fact, I almost failed my topography class in college. Both of them. I had 2 of them and I did really badly in both. And now I have official lettering credits, right? So like, I've learned how to make it fun, and I've learned that it's a valuable skill set that I have to learn. And so I've found ways to make it fun for me. Don't cheap out on lettering. It is the easiest way to make your work look so amateur. You can have beautiful artwork, but if your lettering looks like a child did it, manga ruined, for at least maybe for someone like me, but maybe other people wouldn't care. And then lastly, general advice to all. I know I didn't get to everybody today. And when I was reading through the beat sheets, a lot of you expressed self-doubts and uncertainty about the quality of your work. And this is normal. I do it all the time. I've had multiple conversations with Hisashi-san in person when we're both at conventions. Like, I like to meet up with him if I can, or even over the phone. Sometimes like I call him or I'll text him. Sometimes I'll email him, and I'm like, Hisashi-san, I'm really struggling today. Like, you know, and this is stuff that we've talked about at length, is the mental aspect of becoming a mangaka. And it's really hard. It's really difficult. It's not glamorous. And hustle culture, push, draw, will only break you. You have to understand that you will have days where you hate drawing manga. It's not fun sometimes. And if you're having those moments, don't force it. Step back. It's okay. However, courage to finish something that's difficult. The fact that you guys did this challenge at all, you made the effort, even if you didn't get reviewed today, if you made the effort to make the pages, even if you didn't finish it, and even if you didn't submit it, you still tried. You did far more than the people who didn't even try. Maybe they just gave up. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to do it. Like, you made the effort. You should be proud of yourselves for that, even if you're not proud of yourself for anything else. If you thought your work was bad, you shouldn't think that though. But like, even if you thought your work was bad, if you have one thing to be proud of the fact that you did something. Because you don't learn how to make manga by looking at other people making manga. You learn how to make manga by making manga, right? And you have to have the practice. You have to fail sometimes to learn something. When I was working on Onami, I had to submit 4 different sketches before it finally got approved. I was horribly embarrassed that it took me that long. Like, my first submission was late August. My last submission was late April. It took me that entire time to finally get approved. And now I'm in the same process where I have to draw sketches again and again and again and again. And it's like revision purgatory. It sucks. But courage is not the absence of fear. Like, having the courage to do something doesn't mean that you're not afraid while you're doing the thing. Courage means that you're doing the thing even if you are afraid. Even while experiencing fear, you still finish the thing. You do the thing, right? So like, you should always remember that even if you're afraid of doing poorly about something, the fact that you're making the time and the effort to do the thing is incredibly valuable. And I know that I'm getting kind of mushy here, but like I just want to emphasize that because a lot of mangaka are really hard on themselves because maybe they're not able to finish a lot, or maybe they have a full-time job and like families to take care of and they can't draw as often, or maybe they feel like their work is bad, but the fact that you're making the effort to get stuff done is something by itself to be proud of. So don't be so hard on yourselves, guys, please. Please, for the sake of your future selves. It's okay to feel sad sometimes, but like don't let that become your personality. You can do it. Ganbatte.
Yeah, well said, well said. But I'm sure a lot of people will take a lot of stuff away from this discussion today. So thank you so much, ArtCrumbs, for taking the time to actually review some of the submissions. I'm sure everyone learned something today. I hope you did. But yeah, even if you missed parts of the live today, you can always check out the replay on the channel, you guys. So I hope you guys had fun. I hope you guys learned a lot. And yeah, drop some clap emojis for Jackson in the chat just to like give him a round of applause, hype him up, and thank them. Yeah. All right. Thank you
Yeah, no,
guys so much for coming
yeah.
today.
Thanks, Candace, for keeping everything like moving forward. And thanks to Lunch Around Manga for hosting the event. These events are really valuable. Even if you don't get feedback, you can learn from other people's mistakes or their successes. So yeah, these things are always great to hang out to. That's why I love sitting in on the other mangakas, like the mentors. I love sitting in on their lessons so I can learn something.
All right. I get that's pretty much it. That's all that we have for today, you guys. Thank you so much for joining the live today. And make sure to like and subscribe and so that you can watch out for more events like this on the channel in the future. And I'll see you guys at our next live, okay? Thank you so much, you guys. Have a great rest of your day.